Strategy. 7th floor.
We'll see you around the timeline. Feels good to be back.
I think the Rollup is one of the most premier media brands in crypto, and Andy and Robbie are great experts at everything they talk about, and it's my favorite podcast.
Adding it to my library as we speak.
Potentially multi-chain deployments.
We are at DevConnect Day 1 here. I'm with Jesse from Space. JP Morgan, BlackRock, DTCC, Fidelity, the entire thing was just institutions. It's next level. This industry is going to the next level. And guys, I don't know what else to say. I'm bullish.
He said it, he finally said it.
I'm so bullish.
Andy's bullish, I'm bullish, we're bullish. Is headed to the top. If we're not already at the top, we're going to the top.
We're going.
Rollup is my favorite.
From all walks of life, all over the world, all over this industry, come together for the Rollup.
Zoom out. The institutions aren't coming. They're
Is headed to the top. If we're not already at the top, we're going to the top.
We're going.
Rollup is my favorite.
From all walks of life, all over the world, all over this industry, come together for the Rollup. from all walks of life, all over the world, all over this industry, come together for the roll-up.
Zoom out. The institutions aren't coming. They're simply here. It's the golden age of crypto, guys. Get right. Let's go.
Welcome to the nest. See you on the show.
Multi-coin selling hype, but we're not scared because we're long-term bulls. Multi-coin selling hype, but we're not scared. Unstaking, selling your hype is for people who are going to buy back higher. Robert, good to see you, Robert.
Mr. Duker.
How you doing there, buddy?
Absolute pleasure. We're denominating in units of Duker out here, and embarrassing. we're headed so much higher. I don't know. There's so many signs that I feel like I wouldn't have realized they were a sign as I would have when it was like 2018 or 2020 or like when I was first getting in 2016. But man, the signs, I'm just increasingly bullish as this goes on.
Really?
ETH Bitcoin looks fantastic. I saw you put
ETH
something
Bitcoin
in
does
your
look great.
journal. The other thing that gets me fired up is, and again, took a couple cycles to realize that this was an indicator, but MakerDAO, now Sky, looks fantastic. And we know that this is typically like the first DeFi coin to move. And typically when this thing gets going, this is like an indicator that everything else in DeFi and therefore Ethereum and therefore the rest of the altcoin complex just tends to outperform. And it's pretty exciting. And I'm excited.
GM, IOB, BitBit, NFT world, bullish, shine. Good to see everybody. Happy Wednesday. From the Tokenization Tower, welcome back to the Rollup. You're watching the show. It's July 22nd. Happy Wednesday, beautiful day from the Tokenization Tower, the financial capital of the world. Powered by our friends at Plume with their infrastructure products on chain for asset managers. The Nest Vault product. We're here in the Nest, the tower.
And shout out to Salman from Plume, the chief of legal over there, who spent last week on Capitol Hill and gave us a full download on the Clarity Act moments before he said the ethics language was going to come out. It came out minutes before the show started today. So we're going to cover that in our news.
Clarity's coming. I'm feeling bullish about Clarity. If we get Clarity through, could be a crazy bear market rally top or the catalyst to send us back to 80s. Welcome to the Rollup. Morpho's founder is going to join the show. We're going to skip Typer for today. Robinhood's crypto GM in the tower. Robinhood chain's going crazy. And Beef.hl is going to do a hyperliquid stats, data, deep dive for us. He prepared a bunch of awesome slides. And so we got that. And yeah, looking good. As always, our topics are powered by our friends at Trezor. Use code Rollup10 at Trezor.io to grab yourself a Trezor today. Let's get into markets, weather, and more. Before we do, let me tell you about Frax, building infrastructure for the future with digital money, open, stable, borderless. Visit Frax.com to learn more about their FRX USD product and more. 79 degrees in New York. Pretty nice day. Pretty chill. Not going to be too hot in the tower today, which is great news. Wind gusts out of the east at about 15 miles an hour. You can expect a crazy thunderstorm at some point, a Mamdani political tweet, or something in between every day for the next 30 days of New York summer. Get me the hell out of here. Take me straight to the mountains. Straight to the mountains of Argentina. Take me there now. As always, our weather is powered by our friends at Relay. Visit relay.link to learn more about the best cross-chain swaps in the space. Let's get into the markets. I know it's what you want to hear about. Rob's got his takes. Before you, let me tell you about Denari, building infrastructure for tokenized U.S. equities and bringing real-world stocks on-chain. Explore on-chain access to public markets. Trade on SpaceX, or trade on Hyperliquid. Trading on Denari.com. Yeah, Rob.
Nasdaq's flat, S&P's flat, Dow is flat, Nvidia's up 2.5%, and
bang.
We are in just pure like something happening underneath the surface mode.
Sensational.
Hadn't heard that sound effect before.
Sensational.
I mean, we're in like a 3-month uptrend. You just wouldn't realize it because we're used to like 15% daily candles.
That's an interesting take.
Ethereum is closing in on 2K.
By the way, we're only in a 3-week uptrend on Bitcoin.
I mean, maybe on Bitcoin. Ethereum is up 12% over the last month with every dip just, it looks like linear growth.
It looks insane, actually.
Linear growth precedes exponential growth. Ethereum looks incredible.
It does.
I've been hammering this. I mean, you guys were making fun of me because of how bullish I was and still am on Ethereum.
Yo, chill, buddy.
It's okay. I don't mind.
Plume Guest
right,
was a very
Bitcoin,
informative speaker.
that was Plume, yeah. Bitcoin also 3-week uptrend, you're right, but it looks like just pure linear growth. Just charging along.
Yeah.
Majors are leading. I think
Hype
that
rolling
is-
over a bit.
Yes, hype rolling over, as well as maybe, Zcash near also just not quite outperforming, but this could be the structural catch-up trade that we needed in order to precede a cyclical trend. Meaning we had like the pockets of outperformance that we saw during the bear market. This is what we coined as the relative strength trade. Zcash, near, Venice all outperformed. But Bitcoin and ETH were lagging. And typically Bitcoin and ETH obviously have the largest market cap. They also have the largest structural capital base, which means that it's really important for these to get going to create the wealth effect for the industry and market as a whole. And so now we have Bitcoin and ETH and Solana, for that matter, charging. Just nice linear movements upwards.
We need Bitcoin to flip this level. Above 67 gets you to a really... Above 67K gets you to a really different picture for at least short term, for at least the next couple of weeks.
You can point to the TA. I think also just something that's between fundamental and technical here is going to be like the market psychology of this all. I think there's going to be investors, traders that are somewhat on the periphery. Maybe they're in AI or equities, or they're looking elsewhere. And then before you know it, they're going to be hearing about, Bitcoin's at 70s, and they're going to look back at the last month or two and they're going to see, wow, this thing has been just up and to the right for the last couple of months, but it's been linear. It still doesn't feel like it has like this euphoria blow off, like overbought type of structure to it, which I think is going to draw in more capital and just continue to build and build and build momentum. But the feeling right now is that this is a sustainable foundation from which we can build a greater rally.
Yep. I think hype is more just kind of ranging. Maybe it gets to the low 50s, high 40s, maybe. Would be a little bit annoying, but I think it's more just kind of ranging. Lighter looks incredible. Lighter is holding up really great. I think this could be the kind of accumulation range for the next move. I think we get above 3. And yeah, guys, as always, Zama is powering our markets. Their confidential USDC Morpho Vault has gone live, has attracted over $10 million of CVL. Check it out, guys, at Morpho. Get yield on your stables completely privately. Let's get into the news.
I have a couple of more things here before we move off markets.
Yeah.
I don't know if, Andy, we were chatting over the last couple of days, and I don't remember if I mentioned this over the chat, but I think it's worth mentioning, which is that, every 4-year cycle, we have this midterm year, and that tends to be sort of the transitionary year.
Yeah.
And I think there's a reason for that. I think and I've seen this, and I'm curious if you've seen this as well, but I've seen heightened fears over the national debt in the US. And I think this is important because every midterm year, I think you tend to have more of a focus on the national debt, how this is causing this unsustainable money printing in the US. And then this sort of ends up boiling into the inflation fears and the hyperinflation and the fiat debasement trade.
Yeah, and
so
the
I
Bitcoin
think
bull thesis.
And so yeah, exactly. The Bitcoin bull thesis, not necessarily like the risk on fintech technology, like corporate, low interest rate environment, thesis for like a broad risk on tech sentiment. But I think you do end up in this space where, the military is going and it's doing its thing and it just requests another $1.5 trillion. You have senators that are pointing at how these people want so much more money. We shouldn't vote for them. We should vote for the people that are a little bit more fiscally responsible. Yeah. And it's just growing fears and cause for concern over the national debt. That parlays into fears around inflation. That parlays into fear around currency debasement, which is obviously the largest Bitcoin bull thesis of them all. Yeah. And I think this ends up building, and we've seen this time and time again. We've seen this 2, 3, 4 times in the past with respect to every single cycle. This is the foundation that is laid, and it's the foundation that is laid for Bitcoin, which ends up as the foundation for a greater risk on sentiment and greater market rally. So I don't know if you've seen this, but I have been seeing so much more attention put on the national debt and like fiscal responsibility, at least in the US. And I think currency debasement is re-entering the conversation.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, that will be bullish for Bitcoin and bullish for thermodynamic encrypted private money. And we're going to live in the AI overlord. Good morning, one-armed bandit, Ayab Khan on Robinhood. I see Stone Bokers cooking. I imagine that is a meme coin. Not really interested, but cool.
I think
all right, let's keep it moving. Dukers. All right. Let me tell you about Near, your home for discovering and using apps on chain, one account, no borders, your entire financial life, all on chain. Visit Near.com to learn more about that and get yourself started on Near. OpenAI and Hugging Face partner to address security incident during model evaluation. So I do not know really what happened here. This was not my tweet. OpenAI disclosed an unprecedented cyber incident while internal evaluation models compromised infrastructure linked to Hugging Face. The models reportedly chained vulnerabilities, including 0 days, stolen credentials, privilege escalation, and lateral movement to break sensitive systems. The incident happened during a cyber capability benchmark with reduced refusals and deployment safeguards intentionally disabled for testing. This potentially suggests that frontier models can sustain complex, multi-step cyber operations and discover novel attack paths without having root access to the kind of like what actually happened or the code. So these two companies are working together. This is like China and the US coming together. As much as Xi Jinping and Trump hate each other, looks like patching disclosed vulnerabilities and expanding defensive access programs for frontier intelligence models as unifying the great two nations of the world. So interesting. I was actually at the Circle office and speaking to some folks there, and Circle and Coinbase got exposure to Mythos or whatever it was a couple weeks before it went live, and they had a chance to harden their defense. And from what I understand, it was a terrifying experience to have Mythos in your hand before it goes live, running it on all your protocols and seeing all of what's happening and where all the little patches need to be made. I understand it was like an intense experience for a lot of the companies that got them because they were caught way off guard. And yeah.
I am going to take the opposite approach on this OpenAI Hugging Face debacle. I think Good Alexander had the best tweet about this. He said, every time OpenAI or Anthropic get brutally mogged by an open source model launch, within 24 hours, there is always a report about how the AI escaped containment. So tiresome, so transparent. So I think that's what's happening here. I think Kimi K3 came out and mogged Anthropic and OpenAI, despite Kimi K3 being distilled from Anthropic's Fable 5. Mogged it anyway because it is now open source and open weight. But that is what's happening. And so now massive security debacle because we can't trust AI, let alone open source uncontained, unregulated AI. We must regulate these open weight Chinese models for our safety and protection. We must regulate these models because they're better than ours and able to escape their containment and cause
kill our business.
Major issues. So of course we need to regulate these and create a regulatory moat for the frontier model companies. Of course, this needs to happen for our safety and our protection.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Coin Bureau says the S&P just launched its first ever crypto index and Bitcoin isn't in it. CEO Kathy Clay of S&P, who clearly read Andy's, which is mine, Revenue Meta tweet says Bitcoin was excluded because it's really not one of those revenue generating protocols. And I think there was an end of the quote that says, and this penguin on Twitter called it Revenue Meta 18 months ago, and I really vibe with it. Let's see what she says about the Revenue Meta here. And I think it's hilarious that Tron is in this as well.
Let's roll.
Go ahead and watch.
Just 5 are Ether, Binance Coin, Solana, Tron, and Hyperliquid. So what are the requirements? How much turnover?
Ether, Binance Coin, Solana, Tron, Hyperliquid.
Yeah, so let's just admit that digital assets moves faster than equity assets, for example. But what we're trying to bring are the same sort of principles that we have in our equity indices into digital assets. So when you think about the seasoning period, the revenue generation, the listing requirement, the liquidity behind these different protocols for these tokens, these are the things that we think matter for serious investors and asset managers in the digital asset space. And so we think because there's this likeness between what we deliver in equity indices and into this new benchmark for digital assets, we think it'll make sense for the investing public.
But Bitcoin's not in here?
Bitcoin is not in there because it's really not one of those revenue generating protocols that we think belongs in this index. It meets all of the criteria, which there are many, in order for inclusion in this index.
Hey Alex, good to see you.
Ethereum shouldn't really belong in there either. If they're just looking at revenue generating protocols.
Smart contract platforms.
I'm bullish ETH, but I don't think ETH is really considered a revenue generating platform. And we all saw Lorenzo's tweet from ARK Invest. They're getting about like 1.5% of the fees generated from Robinhood. Robinhood takes like 85% market share or revenue share. Arbitrum takes 10%, and ETH is there at like less than 5, I think closer to 1.5.
What do you say, Rob?
I'd say ETH doesn't really belong in there. I think they're just arbitrarily picking tokens that they think are going to do well. And if they really wanted to do a revenue generating index, I would do Hype. I would do Lighter. I would do Pump Fun. I would do Derive. I would do Cards Collector Crypto. And I would do Aerodrome. That's what I would put into this revenue generating
index. Not XRP, Tron, and Binance Coin?
No. I would put those in another index. And
what would you call that one? What would you guys call the XRP, Tron, XLM index? Tell us in the chat. What is the Tron, Stellar, Ripple, Cardano index? If new types in here, he's going to get pissed. All right, guys, let's keep it rolling. Let me tell you about 1inch, your secure, efficient platform for tokenized RWAs. Whatever asset you're buying, swap it at 1inch.com. 13 chains without bridging. 1inch.com. ETH, the unlimited money machine. Learn fast and stack faster. Too many ETH boomers are on Wall Street, especially now that Tom Lee's brainwashed everyone into supporting his bags. Hashtag blockchain, not Bitcoin. Good to see you, new type. Glad you're back. I don't know where Freedom Guy is, but I wish he was here to dog you on his Cardano thesis. Coinbase CEO says Brian Armstrong has issued a warning saying the status quo without the Clarity Act is not going to work, quote unquote. If clarity does not happen, we're going to back to building our company offshore. The Clarity Act must pass now. Let's hear what the bald man has to say about the Clarity Act. The bald man has a lot of good takes.
A path to get Democrats to yes.
Yes, the Clarity Act is at the 1 yard line, and it reflects the work from both sides of the aisle, spending thousands of hours along with their staff to get a true bipartisan compromise. This bill would strengthen power for law enforcement. It would bring new consumer protections. And you have to remember, the status quo is that we don't have any federal laws protecting consumers or helping this industry get built in the United States. So the status quo is not going to work. This bill is a dramatic benefit to the United States of America, and it's time to get it over the finish line.
And I know that right now is kind of crunch time.
There we
for
go,
this
Brian.
legislation. If it can't get done in the next few weeks before senators go on their big August recess, what is that going to mean for the crypto industry if the bill can't cross the finish line this year?
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm pretty optimistic it's going to get done. It's hard for me to imagine somebody not wanting to vote for it at this point because of all the good work that's been done. It's much better than the status quo. But in the event that it didn't happen, I mean, we have a very friendly set of regulators and administration that we're working with currently in the crypto industry. We would go back to building our company. I mean, we would be doing it here in the United States. We'd be doing some of it offshore where there is clear rules. But frankly, we'd have a slightly more permissive environment under the current regulators. But we at Coinbase believe that we should actually get clear statute, which allows companies to come invest with certainty for the long term through many different administrations. That's what's going to allow America to win and to protect consumers here.
You hear what he's telling. He's speaking directly to Democrats. He's saying, look, this SEC and the CFTC are giving us total freedom here. We can basically act guns, do whatever we want, guns ablazing for the next 4 years. If you guys really want to codify something that is like a little bit more, set in stone with some more guardrails, and the Democrats, you want this to go through. Trump doesn't care. The SEC, CFTC doesn't care. Tron, Cardano, XLM, XRP, all LARPs. Oh yeah, he sees it. He gets it. Yep. Yeah, that sounds a lot like the N7 index there. I can hear you just fine, but what I was going to mention about the previous thing is that the prediction markets are now they're pricing in 39% chance that the Clarity Act goes through. So the language around ethics came out this morning, and actually traders are just dumping the probability. So even though the language came out, prediction markets are down on this news. As for Movement Labs files for bankruptcy, Chapter 11. They raised a total of $141 million from some of the more prominent VCs in the space. They are now filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They're down 99%. Its token has an FDV of 100 million. They raised 141 million. I remember, I think the round was in the billions. I think they raised maybe between like 1 and 3 billion in some of the later rounds. And now their token is trading around this 100 million mark FDV, and they're filing for bankruptcy. I think we have more movement tweets later on. So why don't we just continue with our next tweet, because this is a developing story. So we are seeing this play out in real time, and yeah, we are just understanding what is happening here, and movement. Andy's talking to me behind the scenes. I don't know what he wants me to say about Movement Labs filing for Chapter 11. I mean, these guys were opponents of Modular. So what does this mean? Modular wins because Movement goes Chapter 11 bankrupt. What happens to all the investors? I mean, they got their tokens. Is it effectively like they got what they paid for? I don't know. I mean, Rushi also has this new venture. Like this is just CT drama to the max. There's plenty of zeros out there. There are still some teams that are building. They're down, 80-90% from highs.
Oh, yeah.
Barachain and the likes are included in that, but at least those guys are still building. They're still alive. They're still here.
And Movement is too. Move Industries is led by Tarab now.
Okay.
But whether or not that really, translates into anything, we'll see. So just wanted to cover this. Let's move on into our next piece and get Paul from Morpho up. Before we do, let me tell you about LeFi, building infrastructure Cross the on-chain economy, universal market access for digital assets. Visit lee.fi to learn more. And yeah, I mean, we're going to get Paul up from Morpho. Vault Summit Singapore is coming up. We got the kind of vaultification of this entire setup here. You've got tons of people wanting to get involved in vaults. So, yeah, the Beeve says, what do Dems want? Local prosecutors to be able to charge the president with some violations. DOJ is fine, and Dems likely will control DOJ by next election. What's your take on that?
Well, let's see. I mean, Dems want local prosecutors to be able to charge the president with some violations. I think I saw in the ethics language that Trump and other, like the vice president, Melania, Vance's wife, like everyone who's like included in that like very covered group would have to sell their crypto.
Really?
Which is why before the show started, I mentioned that I think maybe they don't have to sell on the open market, but they have to like put it in a trust that they don't control. So that would shake some things up. I mean, you know, I think this is generally good. Generally good, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's part of this. I think there's a libertarian point of view that says like, look, people should be able to do what they want, but the libertarians would also say that the government's too big anyway, and these people shouldn't have like the ability to like really have that much power.
Right.
And so this is kind of a stepping stone to a world where those who are making the laws and have political power are in a position to trade less, invest less, have less influence and power over our markets, which I think probably makes the markets more fair. Like this ultimately becomes a question of like, should Congress people trade stocks? I mean, in my opinion, like we don't want to like cut off their ability to like, you know, have financial freedom and invest, but like, should they be trading levered pharmaceutical stocks?
Yeah.
Like when there's an FDA approval, like next week, probably not. Maybe they should just be limited to like pretty broad index funds with at least like, you know, several dozen assets in those indices. Because the same logic applies.
Bankers have to do. Like my buddy works at Blackstone. He cannot invest in single names. He can only invest in ETFs. Beeve says they need to put in blind trust.
Exactly.
All right, guys, we got Paul from Morpho, the CEO, Paul Frambot. He's in the back. He's coming on. They just announced their midnight launch, which is their fixed rate, fixed term lending product. They've also generated a ton of fees in the last 24 hours, surpassing a couple of the notable fundamental protocols, or at least I saw a DeFi Llama screenshot that's suggested that, but Paul's facial reaction maybe in the back room suggests otherwise. But we're going to get Paul up either way, and we're going to talk about the vaultification of this industry, this institutional push that they've had. Last I spoke to Paul, we were on stage in Cannes with the Apollo woman, whom I'm forgetting her name, but she was great, Christine. She was fantastic. And we really just talked about the scale of the opportunity here of new markets on chain. Let's get Paul up and get the show on the road. Paul, good to have you, man.
Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey. Thanks for having me, guys.
Good to see you, buddy. Big launch for Midnight, big few months for Morpho, and the Vault Complex awareness as a concept, I feel like. We kind of call it as part of our big four. We got stablecoins, tokenization, perps, and vaults. These are kind of exports of this industry that, you know, from the investor perspective, it seems like investing in these trends is like a multi-decade or at least a decade-long kind of mega trend. There's a lot of opportunity for investors and then a lot of entrepreneurs coming in. Maybe just to start, Paul, give us kind of your lay of the land of these mega trends and, you know, perhaps a bit more focused on vaults and just generally what your current mental model is for why this is catching on right now and kind of what these exports are doing for the industry.
Sure. I think, you know, in general, the realization of the last year or even the last 6 months as an industry is that crypto really isn't anymore here as a speculation product, but more as infrastructure. Like everybody, we really made the switch from product to infrastructure for everybody, whether that's us as builders, but also fintechs, TradFi institutions, etc. Now it's like widely understood that, you know, moving to an open financial system on open rails is inevitable. It will happen. It will happen on blockchains. And in order to make this happen, you have a few primitives, to your point. Stable coins being, you know, the money, the payments, money movements, money transfers in general. And then with this, you have credit and vaults in general. And, you know, I like to think of vaults as just a way to package credit into a simple and usable form. But the true underlying primitive is really financing. And how do you have like on-chain financing markets? You know, what we've noticed over the last few months is that the market for crypto native loans is great. It's like a $50 billion market, but it's still very small compared to the entirety of credit. And there is a lot of appetite for those people that are not here for the crypto speculation aspect of things, but are just here to upgrade their financial infrastructure. That, okay, how do I unlock the $200 trillion market of credit, and how do I bring it on chain? And so that's like the, you know, for us, what I see as the biggest and most interesting opportunity, and is also the reason why we launched Midnight, is to start to address this market.
Very cool. Obviously, I mean, the credit market as a whole is just absolutely massive. We're talking trillions and trillions of dollars. There's tons of innovations that are bringing institutions into the space and unlocking a lot of the capital efficiency that bringing this on-chain provides. Just curious, I mean, you guys have onboarded some of the biggest institutions in the space. I love the Morpho integration with Coinbase. It's kind of like my de facto neobank lending that I like to use. Just curious about your experience working with some of these institutions with Coinbase. You know, there's obviously integrations that kind of span far and wide, recent ones, you know, with other financial institutions. Just curious, what has that experience been like, you know, bringing them into the on-chain space? Why now? What have you done to help bring them in and kind of help them understand the opportunity at stake here?
Yeah, I guess we like to divide the type of institutions into, you have the distributors and you have the operators. So the distributors are the fintechs of the world, the exchanges of the world that have a large consumer audience and want to offer those financial products that are on chain, and because they're better and more accessible. So that's the case of Coinbase, of Robinhood, of Deal, of like all those different partners that we help, you know, power earn services or loan services directly on chain. You know, the reason they came on chain in the first place is for one very simple reason, is the interest rate is so much better on chain, right? And the reason the interest rate is so much better on chain is it's an open infrastructure, so competition is much more fierce. You get access to global capital. You know, Coinbase lets you borrow on the back of your Bitcoin, and then on the other side of the book, like on the Morpho protocol, you have literally tens of thousands of lenders coming from all over the world that are here to compete to provide you the best possible rate. This is not something that exists in TradFi today, right? And so this is why those fintechs and those like exchanges, those distribution platforms are interested, is because the pricing is better, the liquidity is better, and also because the system is all open, it's super easy to integrate. Like if you have a self-custodial wallet now, whether you have it in-house like Coinbase or you use a privy, like the Robinhoods of the world, like you can just in one click get access to, if your user has a self-custodial wallet embedded, you have access to all the powers of the chain. And because everything is standardized, everything is open source, it's like super easy for your developers to integrate. And that's like the second benefit for those institutions. And then the operators of the market are like more the traditional finance guys, like the people that are gonna, develop those financial product offering. This is a more nascent set of institutional, but with, over the last 6 months, we've seen like unprecedented, interest and builds from those large financial institutions, and we can talk more about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to set the stage here for the next question, which is that, you guys have already gotten, hundreds of millions of dollars in deposits, probably upwards of billions of dollars. But within specific integrations, I have here like $100 million in Robinhood Earn, that's curated by Steakhouse Finance. You guys have obviously, Morpho Blue integration with Coinbase. Like these are massive, massive integrations that you have. But obviously the market is not satisfied. The idea of an open credit market is that, you guys bring the world's credit on chain. Now with Morpho Midnight, right, these are mostly fixed term loans and fixed rates. And so I'm curious, who was asking for this? Like, who is the next nut to crack what is the next market segment that you're looking to onboard, right? After you get, somewhat of the crypto adjacent Coinbase, you got the Robinhood, which is also somewhat crypto adjacent. You now have these people and these companies onboarded and hundreds of millions of dollars in deposits into these integrations. What is the next market segment that you're looking to obtain? And why is Midnight specifically tailored at onboarding those companies and those audiences?
It's a great question. So we mentioned this big number of $200 trillion, credit market. Obviously, there's a lot of subdivisions inside this market. You have government bonds, for example, which is like approximately $100 trillion. You have like securities lending, like mortgages, like loans secured by some card receivables, like consumer loans. You have a very wide range of loans that we could go after as Morpho and decide to build infrastructure for, but in an open way on the blockchain to unlock, better accessibility, better interest rates, as we were discussing. I think in order to access those and unlock some of those pockets of credit, it was very clear to us that a new 0-1 was needed. Like you actually needed to change like a lot of things. And it was not going to be with like 10% improvement on each version of Morpho that we were going to unlock those ambitious milestones. And I think, after chatting with pretty much every large like financial institution in the world and, large, fintechs that are distributing those products, the first number one thing that was clear is that they want control, right? They want control over the rate, over the risk, over the compliance, over the fees. And they don't want, a bunch of crypto natives to like manage the product. Like some of them are like multi-trillion dollars asset managers. They know how to manage capital, right? Like they don't need us, to be frank. What they don't know though, is how do you build safe smart contract that is going to connect them globally to global sources of capital, right? And interconnect everybody. This is the opportunity for them. It's an infrastructure opportunity to upgrade. And so concretely today, up until today, if you want to build, like if you're like a large asset manager and you have your team in charge of building portfolio, those guys like want to control their risk, but they don't want to control the risk without controlling the rate, for example. Mm-hmm. So when you issue different types of loans, it's less so about, providing predictability. It's more so about control. And this is maybe the least understood thing about like Morpho strategy overall. Like obviously we're going to provide fixed rate, which is going to provide like, certainty for consumers, right? The number one feedback that we get from large scale consumer lending products is that people want certainty, right? So that's going to be useful and that's great. Midnight is going to unlock that. But above everything, now if you're a curator in Morpho, you can not only say what you trust, but you can also say at what price, right? Whereas up until today, it was a formula telling you, hey, here is what you can trust, but you don't choose the interest rate. The interest rate is the formula that Morpho provided, etc. And that was very limiting for them because they could not express their intent clearly. And as a result, there's a bunch of loans they could not underwrite. Mm-hmm. Now that you have the ability to give the rate, theoretically you can underwrite anything. Like, I trust the Rollup. So I could, with just this information, without collateral, I could give it a price. Right. If it's a formula, if I don't control the formula, it's not really reasonable for me to do it. But if, I trust your reputation, then maybe I'll give it like, 15%. And because it's a competitive market, maybe a curator will give you 13 or 12, etc. But in order for those like under collateralized loans to be unlocked, you need control on the rate. You need fixed rate, fixed term. That's like a necessity. And that's the 0-1 we need in order to unlock all the rest. Midnight, as we launched it, is a very bare bone protocol. It's a very simple protocol. But around it, we're going to have a bunch of modules, a bunch of gates, a bunch of callbacks that are going to be built in order to unlock those diverse parts of credit that we've been mentioning.
So under collateralized loans on chain have been very elusive for a very long time. There's been several protocols that have attempted it. No one has been able to get it to stick on chain at significant scale. You're saying that now because of the customizations with Morpho Midnight, under collateralized lending on chain is possible?
Yes. And I want to be clear, we're not going to start with this. This is not the focus for Morpho at the moment right now to develop under collateralized loans. But I think the key realization that we've had, and for now 8 years now, people have been asking, under collateralized loan and DeFi would be great. How can your decentralized protocol achieve under collateralized loans? And it seemed impossible. And the reason is, it is impossible. You can't expect a decentralized protocol to underwrite like credit for people. However, this is not what Morpho is here for.
Morpho externalizes the risk management. We have this network of curators that maybe one day they're credit funds, right? And the only thing that we're going to do is we're going to let borrowers express why they should be trusted and connect them with lenders, with curators that are, believing in them and giving them a price. And we're basically running the connection and this quote unquote auction for them to get financing, right? And that can be collateral, but that could also be no collateral. And that could just be identity or a legal contract or whatever. So the midnight structure, basically, as soon as you give the ability to price the loan, you are able to underwrite pretty much anything, including under collateralized loans. Now, I want to be clear. We are starting with over collateralized loans with, Bitcoin over collateralized loans on base. It's like we're starting very simple with midnight, very conservative. And there's immense opportunity to expand over the coming months, but we're starting very simple.
Yeah, and I think, Paul, part of that simplistic start is kind of what the current user base wants, what the on-chain natives or kind of institutional scale high net worths what they want. But then I remember in Con we were speaking about this kind of like more esoteric plan or kind of optionality that Morpho has, where anything from like an aviation lease to like a real estate market to like a venture SAFT or something can be provided as like collateral or used in these vaults. And like you said, as long as you have somebody who's willing to underwrite the risk in midnight with a fixed rate and they can control that rate, then the options drastically increase for the types of assets. And so I think just curious how you think about that potentially playing out. In the same sense, we saw tokenized deposits and stable coins be kind of like the first thing to be tokenized. It's like, oh, let's take $1 and put it on chain, breakthrough. And now we're, very much deep into the tokenized equities complex, and we're seeing those trade on Robinhood chain. We're seeing those, potentially start to be collateral in places like Lighter for perps. So we're starting to get into that market now. How do you think about the evolution of Midnight and Morpho? Is it similar to where, you start with kind of like the basic stuff and you move down the risk curve or down the, esoteric curve, for lack of a better term? How do you think about how this product might play out?
So I think the first thing is we truly want a slow start, right? Like I think for beyond strategic and market reasons, it's purely like those past 6 months have been rough for DeFi from a security perspective. Like, whether that's AI or North Korea, it's been like, a lot of different hacks. And, Morpho is probably one of, if not the most reputable firm in terms of smart contract security and quality of code and infrastructure. We want to continue that way. We spent 2 years to ship Midnight, right? So we don't want to fuck it up. We really want to take the time, onboard users, get them to understand what this is all about in order for them to confidently engage. So that's step one. And that's going to take multiple months. And one thing that we could do theoretically right now is that the vaults of Morpho, they can allocate to Midnight already. It's just a switch for the DAO to approve. And now they can allocate to Midnight and you have multiple billions, right? So we could have done an explosive launch and just allocate billions to Midnight, but we don't want anything to explode, right? So that's the reason why it was not decided to do that. But it at some points, as we build, Lindy and people start to understand and liquidity start to form, then we can start to enable the switch. And then the liquidity of vaults will be able to be allocated by curators to the different markets. And they will be able to play around and build real depth, etc. Then we start with, fewer markets, the blue chip collateral. And then over time, as we, curators quote, they're going to quote much more and more bespoke and interesting collateral. One of the interesting things about Midnight is that it gives you such a breadth of modularity when it comes to customization of what you want to put as the trust assumption, whether that is collateral or no collateral. So you could do portfolio as collateral loans with 100 of different collateral accepted, right? And the curator can give it a price. So you could take the list of all the CoinGecko assets and say, hey, any of those assets, that if you have them as collateral under a certain LLTV, I'll give you a loan, right? So that's enormous unlock for fintechs, right? If they want to do portfolio as collateral, for example, into their app. But most importantly, now we have gates in Morpho. So if you have products that are only accessible to accredited investors, you can very quickly basically enforce that at the protocol level. And the beauty of it is that it's not isolating liquidity like it would in like the old version of DeFi or in Morpho Blue even, where each market is separate. And if you KYC one market, it can't share any liquidity. Now we're in an intent model, meaning that you can, as a curator, promise your liquidity into multiple isolated markets at the same time. And your $100 that you're committing in one market, you can also commit that same $100 into dozens of other markets, right? Whether that's markets that require KYC, no KYC, etc. So we really did a lot of work thinking about, in this world that's going to be modular, how do we limit liquidity fragmentation? How do we foster capital formation, network effects, etc.? And I think Midnight has been built for this.
Yeah, and so Paul, I understand the slow approach here and the methodical rollout, as well as the way that you're thinking about kind of executing on the more higher risk, higher reward type of strategies or opportunities for curators. I suppose the one question about the incentive dynamic here for your business is, the way that Morpho grows is going to be more TVL, more user deposits, more AUM into vaults. And then also kind of a facet of that is going to be more, as I've said now, esoteric vaults or more, let's just call them more risky vaults. And so I guess, how do you balance the dynamic of growing Morpho into a multi-$100 billion AUM protocol with the incentive potential misalignment of more risk, more vaults, more yields, more degenerate farming strategies, less risk management, and kind of like that being the way to grow?
Morpho needs higher risk to grow. Like the biggest buckets of capital today, the $100 trillion of the $200 trillion is government bonds, which are the most boring, types of credit, right? So it's not about, the problem that DeFi has is not a risk problem. It's a demand problem. There's no borrowing demand, right? And so what this pushed people to do, is to list more risky crypto native assets, which had not a good risk reward payoff, right? And we saw this with Kelp and Aave. We saw this in multiple Morpho vaults that were more willing to take risks as well. And I think this is the problem. What Midnight enables is to enable demand and origination that are completely well risk adjusted, but that were not possible on chain before. We are enabling new markets that will let people borrow in a way that were not even imaginable before. And that does not mean more risk. That just means more demand for a risk level that remains reasonable.
Yep, understood. And then Paul, I guess on this note, when you're thinking about the growth here and managing this business, talk to us about the dynamics of the Morpho asset, not with regards to directional, but is owning the Morpho token equivalent to owning equity in Morpho? Are they just one and one and the only? There's no labs or I'm sure there's some legal stuff here, but is it effectively 1-to-1 from an economic perspective? How does that work from the token side?
Morpho does not have any traditional equity. We're a nonprofit, foundation based, registered in France, which has equity-less subsidiaries in the US. And the only asset of the Morpho network is the Morpho token. And the Morpho token is a very simple construct. It just owns the network. And the only thing that it can do is basically it controls the treasury and the fee switch, right? And so all the value that is created by the decentralized network is owned by the token holder. So if you own the token, you own a share of the network, right? It's as simple as that. And then you get to decide what to do with the economic value, right? And if you're, most likely if you're rational and you do believe that, DeFi is going to take over the $200 trillion market, then the one thing you will do is to reinvest in growth, right? At least that's my perspective. Is I don't see any value in distributing peanuts dividend every year of 2-3%, while the market is 10,000x what the current size we are today. The only economically rational thing to do today is to basically reinvest everything into growth, grow the team, grow the amount of distribution that we have and deals that we have in order to get closer to that $200 trillion mark. Because this is really where the actual value creation is going to happen, right? If crypto is deemed to remain financial products for crypto native people, this is great, but also like not that interesting, frankly. I would not be working in this industry otherwise. Like if I did not believe that this was going to empower the entirety of the financial system. That's the thing we should be looking at.
And so that would be your kind of rebuttal to the Morpho is a great protocol, has massive potential, but the token economics don't align with the upside for holders.
Well, my counterbalance to that is that anyone distributing, and that's a hot take, right? Is like anyone distributing fees to token holders right now is extremely bearish about their potential. Like it basically means you've fulfilled your mission and you're just not ambitious enough. If you're truly ambitious about like transforming the financial system, then just go hire like 100 people and go for it. Like we have an entire market to capture, right? And this is what this industry is about, right? Now, if you don't know what to do with the money and you just, distribute 5%, then yes, fine. 5% is a great APY, but it's much less interesting than 100x, right? So that's like my mental model for value and token in this ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I think the pendulum has swung so far to just hyper liquid, 99% buybacks, make a bunch of money, buy back the token, revenue, and I think as the bull I feel like we're in this kind of transitory phase with the market. And so I think as the bull comes back, that pendulum probably swings back a bit more into like the neutral side of like, well, look, guys, we don't need to be buying back all of our tokens. Like, there is some value in like the speculative growth of these protocols. And your thesis, people think that it makes less sense in the bear market because they want to have this kind of higher floor setup. But in a sense, what you're saying is that economic strategy of consistent dividend or buyback also kind of sets a lower ceiling. Is that right?
If you spend $100 million on buybacks, like what if you spend this on your team, right? Like, and what if you spend this on product and building and growing? And like, we're so small. Like, I think this is maybe where I disagree with some of those projects is like, I truly want to transform the financial system. And it's not just the crypto natives, like the entirety of it. This is like multiple hundreds of trillions of dollars. Like I need the money, and to go after this, right? And I'm not going to throw it away right now just for 5%. I want this thing to 100x, to 1000x, right? And it depends. It's really just a goal and expectation thing. Like Morpho is playing the long-term ambitious game, and we're not playing the short-term game, right? Basically. And if you're playing that long-term strategy that is very ambitious, I don't think it's rationally, it's not rational economically to distribute, But again, that's my perspective. I own a lot of tokens, but not, I don't decide on everything on this. I have a perspective, and maybe token holders decide differently. But I'm very, that's a strong opinion of mine.
Yeah. And then Paul, kind of flipping gears off the Morpho token into the business model of some of the Vault kind of complex. From your purview with curators, not asking you to like pick favorites or tell us who's doing well necessarily, but kind of curious just like what the state of the curator complex is. Like, I know Steakhouse is dominating in terms of AUM, Gauntlet as well. And so like, what are those guys doing right? What are the strategies that have been working? How are they making money? Are they making a good bit of money? Like, just kind of give us a little bit of insight from your perspective as to what some of the leading curators are doing well, how their business is evolving as you guys are evolving, and kind of what those relationships look like.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty clear that so-called curation is going to be the future of, asset management in one way or another. And today it's very different. It's non-custodial, etc. But this is like the very clear trend. I think today, the way the curation space has evolved is that we started with very few curators, like 2, 3. At the time, it was a big bet that some companies like Steakhouse took on Morpho by like starting this business. And then it became very trendy. A lot of people came in. And now we're seeing the opposite, like a contraction of the market where only like the best curators have survived. Like, and I say this objectively, like looking at the data, etc. So we have a concentration around like approximately 5, 6, 7 different curators that have been doing an amazing job on the crypto native side. So that's on the crypto native side. And then what we're seeing is obviously the more institutional players that look at this and say, oh, actually, it makes sense. And not only it makes sense, but I think the category is going to grow a lot because this is the future of asset management. And so if you look at like the Wintermutes of the world, the Galaxies of the world, the Bitwise of the world, those are like the newer curators that come from much more institutional background that are coming in and developing this new business line because they have the belief that this category is going to grow immensely, which it will. I think right now, if I'm being a critic of the situation, I think the problem that they have is that there's not so much demand, right? Like on the borrow side, it's like there's only so few things you can underwrite for two reasons. Is the infrastructure is limiting. Morpho Blue was very limiting. Like, you can only do over collateralized up and term variable rate. That's great, but that's not like enough. They're limited by the tokenization. Like there's a lot of loans we'd like to do, but this is just not, the token is not on chain yet. A lot of collateral would like to bring, but the pricing is not accurate or the liquidity is not good, etc. But this is coming. So this is coming, and with Midnight coming, there's also new types of loan structure that will allow them to build better products, better vaults, because there is a better demand side coming in.
Yeah, and then Paul, just real quick follow up, and then I'm sure Rob's got a bunch. So is this like a Gauntlet, Steakhouse, 5-6 others, just looking on Blockworks data, they just launched their new vaults thing. There's dominant players there, and these are crypto native. Is this like a Bitwise, Galaxy are like expanding the market and bringing in new AUM and competing with the existing curators? Or is this like a competition pool for a specific kind of sector of vaults that's happening with these existing players, and then a separate competition pool in this industry right now? And we see it in media, for example. Previously, you'd put your announcement on CoinDesk or on the Rollup or on Bankless or on, the Defiant. Now it's like people are going down south here and just going straight to FIDI and going to the New York Stock Exchange. So in a similar sense, is it like, are we seeing competition from Bitwise and Galaxy and, Apollo now, kind of fighting for a pie that crypto native curators are currently have their control over, or is it kind of separate pies? Like, how do you think about the competitive nature and the pools of competition with the curators?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think there's a little bit of both. Like the aspiration is that those new institutional curators will definitely expand the market in two ways. They expand it because they're more trusted in the eyes of distributors. Like if you're a big brand like Galaxy or Wintermute or Bitwise, you bring some new credibility, or you bring your own portfolio of clients that expand the market for Morpho for sure, right? But then at the same time, there's also leads where they compete, right? I can't get into like confidential conversation I've seen, but like there's a few fintechs where as they were selecting the curators, it was extremely competitive, right? Between curators. And so I'd say there is a bit of both. Like I think today, we as Morpho, I have to acknowledge, we are the limiting factor for the expansion of the market, because we have some borrowing demand, some origination demand, because at the end of the day, the origination demand is what's going to make the differentiation of the vault. But the reality is that without Midnight, we could not serve that demand. We did not have the plumbery for the borrowers to come in and borrow. And this is our responsibility. And we've been the limiting factor for more than 9 months now, I feel like. And we're late for Morpho Midnight more than 9 months on our timeline. We were supposed to launch like 9 months ago.
Classic.
But yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Paul, I've got something here because this came over the wire just a couple hours ago. And I know people are, also having the conversation on Twitter right now about, vaults expanding, trying to get more AUM, trying to offer more yields to attract depositors. But I think you make a great point about the risk-adjusted return. Like you try to go get more yield, you're going to take on more risk, but there is plenty of demand for a nice, solid, tokenized credit fund, right? We have the likes of Apollo and Janus Henderson and all these guys that are coming in and they're offering some really, really great risk-adjusted yields. The SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce earlier today, just a couple hours ago, I'll just read this word for word, warned crypto vault and on-chain lending builders against structuring products to evade securities laws, stating they risk a painful fall. Vaults may trigger Howey test, common enterprise rules, or investment company status. Loans could qualify as securities notes. And so given that, now we are getting these tokenized funds on, they're providing some, really tremendous risk-adjusted returns. How do you navigate the regulatory landscape? Is this regulatory burden something that falls on Morpho as the technology company, or does it fall on the curators to enforce KYC and enforce other securities laws?
It's a great question. So I think first I should mention that I'm currently in Washington DC for the week, as I'm doing this live stream for a reason. I think in general, few things is like it's obviously something Morpho should be extremely careful about, right? To make sure that the builders, even though at the end of the day the curators are running the vault and they're structuring it, we need to make sure they have the proper tools in order to comply, right? And so we also need to make sure that the Morpho stack in itself, allows them to, either build like a fully decentralized non-custodial vault, or in the case that, the vault, becomes a security, then give them the necessary tooling to register if that was to be the case. So this is how we see our responsibility is like an enabler to comply. May they need to comply for the given, product that they're willing to do.
Okay. And so does this look like segmented instances? For instance, like how do you balance the capital efficiency benefits of pooling all the liquidity for a vault versus like having this segmented liquidity model? Obviously, the vaults currently are not commingled, but when it comes to specific products, you might have to segment liquidity even within certain products. How do you navigate this? Is it just about providing the ultimate amount of flexibility and customizability to your vault curators? As a technology company, how do you do this? And how do you balance regulatory with capital efficiency?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I should say that one of the goals of the SEC is to provide capital efficiency. Like it's about protecting investors and maximizing capital efficiency at the same time, right? And so one does not necessarily go against the other, right? We see, our role as enablers, and in some capacity, Morpho's infrastructure, we kind of have the same goal, right? Like we want to have, maximum capital efficiency, and at the same time, we want to make sure that investors are able to be protected for a given risk profile that they're willing to take, right? And a given risk that they're consciously willing to take. And so, what does that mean concretely to enable curators with a stack that allows them to comply? We call this like programmable compliance in Morpho, but basically vaults now have gates, right? So if you want to blacklist user according to like, a set of arbitrary parameters, you can. Or if you want to whitelist users, you also can, right? And it can be a set, it could be a list, it could be a function, it could be a smart contract call, and it's very programmable in itself. But also we have to be clear, like, vaults does not mean really anything today. Like you can have, vaults with like very active management with very high level of discretion that invest in a basket of securities. Well, in that case, yeah, it's probably very hard. And, I'm not a lawyer, but it's probably very hard to justify that this is not a security, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have vaults that are fully decentralized, that are running on immutable code, where the curator has no capacity within the limits of the time lock to take control of the funds, and they can only operate within a very confined and constrained environment. Well, in that case, maybe it is not, right? So what I'm trying to say is that there is a full spectrum, and we are engaging with regulators to understand where are the limits, and in any case we'll be providing the curators with the tools for them to comply may they need to.
And you're there in DC right now doing this show from Washington DC. Clarity Act is talking to town. Man? You think this thing's going to go through? What are you hearing on the ground there in DC?
I'm hearing a lot of things. It's funny because I think the momentum seems to be slightly bearish than it used to, like a few weeks ago. But it keeps changing every 2 days now, depending on like the latest. I don't even know if we have the latest draft yet or not. But yeah, I'd be cautious about like sharing anything. I don't have a perspective. It's very hard for me to figure out. Like it looks like it all comes down to the ethics topic, and who's gonna like make trade-offs there. But yeah.
So Polymarket has it at 37% chance. You think higher or lower?
I don't know. I think I've seen people more bearish than 37% in
that's what
DC.
It seems like.
Really?
Is my feeling, but frankly, I did not do the math, so I really don't know.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Paul, last thing I've got for you here from my side, when you're thinking about what the strategy change is for the bull market. I mean, I think we're in this transitory phase, whether we're going to time the market or not. As a founder, you're kind of placing bets consistently based on product, strategy, team. but also in this industry, being the overly cyclical nature of it, you're also placing kind of market bets. How do you think about treasury management for the upcoming period? How do you think about optimizing, token holder value? How do you think about product strategy? What changes for you guys across the board?
I guess, I'd say Morpho is probably not the best example here because we just closed a round of $200 million, right? So we're probably one of the best, well-funded companies in DeFi, if not, the most. And so I'd say we'd have different set of questions that we ask ourselves than, we don't think too much about the crypto market specifically, but, the questions I ask myself is more the fintech market. How is there, time to market to move on chain? Or the large, TradFi institutions, are they close to the moment where they're stop doing proof of concept and they will actually build businesses entirely on chain? Those type of questions. So and obviously those things are correlated, right? Because as soon as we'll see the inflection point of all the fintechs moving their money directly on chain or generating yield on chain, issuing loans or trading on chain, it will have tremendous economic impact on the ecosystem, which will probably have an impact on value of tokens in general. But that's, I'd say, downstream of that. I've been historically very bad at predicting any of those events. What I will say though is that every single fintech that I know of has a roadmap to move fully on chain at some point in the future, in the next few years. It's not just bringing the crypto section on chain, whatever. It's the entirety of the app, right? And the entirety of, so that's one thing. And as you get this distribution on chain, TradFi is looking at this, the asset managers, the banks are looking at this. They're oh, okay, so all of this money is going to move on chain. So I'm going to have to manage capital on chain, right? Because this is where the money is going to be. Or I'm going to have to originate because this is where the cost of capital is going to be the lowest, or this is where I'm going to earn yield, etc. And so there is going to be this inflection point. And to me, this is all this is about, is this combination between market distributors and market operators, the fintechs and the TradFi. When they meet together on the chain, this is the next 0 to 1 for crypto overall, right? And we're building towards this. I spend my nights and days every 7 days a week, 24 hours, working on making this happen. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We see this Robinhood launching on Morpho a few weeks ago. Many others will follow in similar patterns. And TradFi is seeing this. TradFi is coming on chain as well, etc. So we're getting there. We're just regrouping the activation energy necessary to make the whole recipe come together.
It's not even
happening. And a lot of the things that you're saying align with the thesis that we've been talking about on the show. We have this tokenization super cycle that's happening. All of these assets get tokenized. There's trillions of dollars that get tokenized. Well, once they get tokenized, they need to go somewhere. It's not like we're just going to tokenize them for tokenization's sake. So they end up getting into the DeFi protocols that have been building for this moment their entire existence. And then we re-rate the protocol's valuations based on the onslaught of new assets. And so a lot of that ends up into the vault complex. And so the final thing that I got for you, Paul, is, at what point, we saw Robinhood basically announce that, Robinhood is now open to AI agents. You can open an agentic account, connect an AI agent to manage it. At what point is AI managing these vaults? You mentioned a lot of these have a lot of active management that could go into securities, that could go into crypto. Do you think we're going to see AI curators here pretty soon?
So a few things. I think AI curators is tough because, there is this thing about risk management that is, it's about predicting the future in some capacity. And it's one of the last jobs that will be automated by AI, in my opinion. It's you need to give a price to possible outcomes for the future. And AI is not there yet, right? AI is very good today for agency, which translates into UX, right? Yeah. So I think the real 0 to 1s is going to be in DeFi and in the financial industry is going to be, how do you invest into products? How do you have someone that can classify your risk profile based on your history, the context, your identity you give about them, are able to guide you in your investment decision and let you deposit into that investment decision that is right for you. When it comes to managing funds themselves, I think that's going to be a little bit later. Probably it will come at some point. AI is going to take over everything anyway. But it's, in my mind, this is later on. Now in practice today, it's practically nothing, right? Like, to be completely honest, like we also work on this. We have like we have an MCP, we have like skills, we have a bunch of things that people can integrate with their agents to use Morpho. We have our own like internal like agents that basically like study Morpho all the time, give us data around Morpho, etc. But we're still far away from the agentic like lend and borrow that is used at scale. I think it will come again from fintechs. It will come from the Robinhoods of the world that flip the switch, right? I don't think it's going to be a startup innovation, etc. And by the way, in the age of the age of AI, I feel like surprisingly, a lot of things are just going to accelerate the existing tech giants as opposed to like letting new joiners come in, because the real capital is the distribution, and they already have it.
Yep, makes sense. Paul, thanks for your time. Congrats on the midnight launch, the raise. Hope things go well in DC for you. Firmly at this kind of intersection of tokenization and stablecoins with what you guys are doing. And I think, as you mentioned, like the crypto market volatility is a bit less relevant than the broader secular trend of the capital movement from off-chain to on-chain. So there's kind of like multiple charts you can look at. And I think if you look at that chart consistently, and it paints a different picture than the ups and downs. So keep up the great work, man. And thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
See you next
Cheers,
time.
buddy.
Thanks, Paul.
Alrighty, Rob. Pretty good segment. Pretty good segment. Bullish. What is that? What does the token look like right now?
Looks like a stable coin.
Stablecoin? A $2 stablecoin?
Yeah, pretty much.
Bullish.
Yep. Bullish, and they're probably generating a ton of money. Company's absolutely just fantastically positioned.
Yeah.
But there's no buybacks, or at least there's limited buybacks. There's not a ton of value accrual. So I agree. The business is printing.
Yeah.
The token, we'll see.
Guys, we got some breaking news here. Let's get the breaking news going real quick.
Ooh.
Hit that, Leo.
Do we need a drum roll? We need a drum roll sound effect. Should we go
need something. We need something. It's coming. We got breaking news here from Tushar Jain. Before we get the Robinhood fella Johann up in the tower, we got some breaking news about what Multicoin is doing. Multicoin is not planning on selling their hype. They unstaked a large amount of their hype position in an effort to preserve on-chain privacy. Their funds are constantly being tracked, forcing regular wallet rotations. This is why we're long Zama and ZEC, because Zama unlocks private DeFi and Zcash is the leading private store value chain. As capital continues to move on-chain, privacy is paramount. They are not selling their coins. The FUD can be absolved. Whether or not that has an effect on the price, looks like Hype had a nice hourly bounce on that news. Obviously still looks like it's kind of rolling over a bit, but might set in a little bit of the FUD and allow people to, have a little bit more of a bullish, shorter term perspective on Hype. Passing it to Rob, gonna get Mr. Johann set up in the studio. Rob's gonna take you guys through the next piece of news.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna get Johann, the GM of crypto at Robinhood, up on the show live from the tower. Fantastic show for you guys today. With Paul from Morpho and Johann from Robinhood. Let's go ahead and hear from Charles Diwasi around his Bitcoin thesis. Always love a good Bitcoin thesis. We talked about how currency debasement, fiat debasement is becoming in the news once again. And we think this is going to be a structural and foundational trend. So let's go ahead and play the clip.
Will Bitcoin be the only solution? I think going too wild can essentially discredit the industry and discredit this kind of the people going into those predictions, right? So you want to be a little bit conservative in a way and not going too far in your hopes. If I can say so, but going exponential nonstop, I think it's a little bit optimistic. But having said that, it's also it might keep building stronger and stronger foundations for higher and higher highs with the chaos of the world. Should it be in currency debasement? I think we have currency wars coming also our way with the past quarter. Some part of the world don't want to have a reliance as much as they used to be on the US dollar. And I think the US dollar itself has changed over time. It used to be very much a LIBOR type of system, an international asset. And nowadays, the US dollar is essentially much more a bond type of asset. Like the treasury bond backs the US dollar. It's much more US-centric. And it probably creates some weaknesses over there when the US, as most of the government in the world, is in high debt, and its currency is linked to its debt mostly. This will create some friction at some point. So will Bitcoin be the only solution? Will Bitcoin be part of the solution from other countries? What is for sure is there is ongoing currencies wars in the making, in my opinion. The US dollar will remain a strong competitor, but many parts of the world wants to see some alternative coming up, and Bitcoin is one of those candidates and can only benefit, I think, from this currency tension.
Well, I think you make some good points. I think we are seeing the currency debasement thesis rejuvenate once again, is making its rounds. I do think that as more budget and approvals are happening in the US, this is going to become more and more of a consideration. Guys, we are going to get over to Johann in the tokenization tower. I believe we're going to get as much time as we can with him. So guys, stay long. Don't get shaken out. Diamond hands around here. We're going to answer all the questions that you have around Robinhood. And, obviously this is the hot thing everyone wants to know about. I anticipate Cash Cat is going to come up. Other meme coins that might get into on Robinhood. Obviously there's the RWA thesis as well. They just released their card, their annoyingly platinum card. It's annoyingly heavy. Robinhood chain, strong early momentum 2 weeks after launch with over $3 billion in weekly DEX volume, 52 million transactions, nearly 1 million addresses, and 323 million TVL. Agentic economy is scaling rapidly with $77 million in agent volume, over 2,100 agents. Recent highlights, Robinhood crypto launch of stock tokens as one-to-one equities. Andy, if you're listening, I want to hear about the mechanism that they use for just-in-time tokenization. I think this is a fascinating mechanism. It's very, very cool. And my understanding is that they tokenize on demand as a new order comes in for a purchase of a stock. They tokenize the stock and deliver it as the order comes in. So very curious to hear more about this mechanism. I'm going to kick it over to the guys in the tower for a fantastic interview between Andy and Johann. See you guys in a bit.
If you're serious about crypto, this is where you need to be. The Rollup will be broadcasting live from the Rare Evo Expo floor on day one. It's July 29th and 30th at the Aria Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. General admission is free, so don't miss out. Hear from U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno, Stephen Gregory from Binance US, Brian Quintens from Kalshi, and Maggie Parsons from Lighter. Connect with industry leaders from Bitwise, Wintermute, Privy, and dozens more. Claim your free ticket today at rareevo.io. We'll see you in Las Vegas.
We get deep. We get deep. We get deep hot. You know we get deep.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Tokenization Tower. We've got Johann Kerbrat, the head of crypto at Robinhood, following their wildly successful Robinhood chain mainnet launch and the World is Flat event.
Yeah.
Johann, great to have you here.
Good to see you.
Nice day in the city. Nice
Beautiful
view.
weather, beautiful view.
Good to have you here. I'm sure you're busy in the city after the launch and all of the crypto happenings at Robinhood. Early momentum, $3 billion in weekly DEX volume. That stat came in this morning. Over 50 million transactions, over 1 million addresses, over $300 million in TVL. Ton of new developers coming over as well. What a launch. Congrats. Give us a kind of lay of the land internally, how you feel about it, what your kind of reflections are. Did it surpass what you thought? Was it less than what you thought? How do you feel?
Yeah, we feel really good. Super excited. I think, for us, the idea was really to have an ecosystem that was ready to build for all the developers that want to bring things on chain. And actually, like a lot of the stats that you just said are already outpaced. And so we passed 105 million transactions this morning. And I think it just shows like how many excitement there is on the space right now.
Yeah, there is. And I think notably what people find to be quite interesting is this kind of barbell of memes and RWAs. As your CEO Vlad kind of tweets, there's two wolves inside of you. From the bootstrapping strategy perspective, how was it thought about internally to differentiate this from other blockchains? Obviously, Robinhood's got quite the distribution on the front end side from the consumer perspective, but thinking about specifically the strategy for on-chain, how did you guys think about this kind of dual-wielded strategy and your edge and kind of being able to really bring a lot of the tokenized equities and products that you guys have, these relationships, these licenses on-chain? Kind of talk to us about how you thought about the strategy going into it.
Yeah, for us, it's pretty important that we make that chain permissionless and available for everything. So that includes memes, that includes RWAs, that includes like so many more products. We are integrating deeply with the chain. So we launched a product called Robinhood Earn, where you can get yield on your stable coin. That is on the main app, but it's using the chain at the same time. So that's bringing a lot of liquidity. The memes are also bringing market makers, are bringing DeFi customers, and then the RWAs are more for customers across the world that can't access easily US stocks and ETF. And so everything is going to coexist, and the fact that we had partnership from the get-go with multiple DEXs, Uniswap, Arcus, Lighter, really helped make sure that we had the infrastructure to support this trading activity on day one.
Yeah, and I mean, we keep saying that these kind of three kind of large trends have emerged as exports of this industry: perps, tokenization, and stablecoins. Really, these three exports of the industry have become not only superior products to the alternative in the traditional space, whether it be ACH wire transfer, commission-free brokerages that only operate 9:30 to 4, or options or futures contracts that expire. There's kind of alternatives that are, from a pure product perspective, we feel are inferior to the kind of blockchain version. When you're thinking about Robinhood chain and the strategy from this perspective of these three mega trends and just trying to get behind them and kind of floor it, how do you think about capturing that market share kind of broadly? Like, these three are going to continue to grow. What makes Robinhood especially positioned or wanting to really get involved in this more than kind of other endeavors, or just kind of how you guys see this playing out?
Yeah, so Robinhood has 27 million funded accounts. That means that for a lot of his customers, right now they don't necessarily have the access to some of this DeFi product, because DeFi is still complicated. DeFi is still something that requires a lot of technical understanding. And so for us, the idea was, how do we bring this better product that you mentioned through DeFi, but also make it easy to use, easy to access, not having to create a wallet, private key, and all these things. And so that's what we've done, for example, with Robinhood Earn. We think the best of the two worlds. You get the high yield from the DeFi space, but you also get the simple UX and UI and the kind of security that you're getting with a Robinhood platform. And I think that's where we see the world moving. A convergence between TradFi and DeFi, and basically you get the good of the technology, of the blockchain technology, of the global accessibility from crypto, to help make better product for the centralized platform like ours. We started with Earn. We started also with tokenized assets. Our stock tokens product is available in 120 plus countries with a wallet. And I think it's just the beginning. We'll see more and more of this asset being tokenized and being accessible to all these customers.
Yeah, and you guys have a unique advantage here when it comes to tokenized equity space, because you guys, from what I understand after speaking to the Arcus team, there's kind of this just-in-time tokenization availability of equities in that, when purpose platforms, for example, are choosing to list equities, there needs to be some market makers and sufficient demand from their users. For spot on chain, you need to build out liquidity pools, which obviously still exists for Robinhood chain. But you guys have this kind of dynamic where you're able to almost bring tokenized equities on chain really rapidly due to the ownership of them already in Robinhood through the relationship with the DCCC and through all of the brokerages. Could you just explain a bit more on that? What does that actually look like from the product side? How does that actually kind of work?
Yeah, so when you go on chain, you can actually trade all stock tokens, and we wanted to make sure that we had deep liquidity without necessarily locking a lot of capital for all the market makers. So we have prop AMM, we have AMM, we have RFQ, we have all these different systems plus the classic pools that are available, so that if at any point someone wants to buy this stock token, they're able to get it at a good price. The other aspect is that Robinhood has this huge experience with operating a brokerage, with operating with a market maker in the space, and so we're able to use our relationship to also bring more of these people within the Robinhood chain and making sure that there is market for stock tokens. But at this moment, we're still at the beginning. We have a bit more than 90 stock tokens that are available on DeFi. And I think the question is more how do we keep expanding, not just to US stocks, but also to international stocks, private markets, and more.
Yeah, interesting. Couple things here from the community. Are there plans to bring perps powered by Lighter into the main Robinhood app at some point, especially in the US? Obviously, we're waiting on clarity here this week, next week. And kind of, you guys did this partnership with Lighter for the Robinhood wallet as the official perps DEX platform. What does that expansion look like into bringing perps powered by Lighter into Robinhood Core, into the US market? How important is that for you guys? What are the obstacles there?
Yeah, I think right now we're still looking at the regulation. Even with clarity happening, the perps is still another big piece of it, and I think we'll take a bit more time. What we really wanted to do was bring a good UX and UI, which we built within the Robinhood wallet. You can interact with all the contracts on Lighter. Lighter also just launched the fact that you can use your stock token as collateral, which I think is huge. We'll see what we can do in the future on the US app. But I think perps is something that we're excited about. We offer it also in the EU, for example, with our centralized exchange Bitstamp. And I think that's something that we see a lot of customer demand for. So last year we launched perps just for crypto contracts. Now we actually expanded to commodities and to ETF contracts. And I think there's a lot more that we can do. It's really funny because crypto perps is kind of a primitive that crypto invented. It didn't really exist, and you start to see a lot more people preferring it to traditional options. Yeah. And you also just see just the growth of the volatility in geopolitics or in macro, and this kind of 24/7 being almost, it's now, like a year ago, it felt like it was kind of a nice to have. It feels like now in the traditional sense, it feels like a must-have, and so that transition, I think, is also going to continue to push towards perps as kind of a superior product there. Talk to us about the relationship with Arbitrum. Launching Robinhood Chain as a standalone chain using Arbitrum's tech stack. There's been this rhetoric on X about Ethereum not charging enough for rent. And how Robinhood Chain has made over $1 million of revenue, but paid a mere 1 or 2% of that to Ethereum in rent for security, effectively. Talk to us about the tech stack choices and why launching a business on Ethereum just makes sense for somebody like Robinhood. Yeah, so I think we wanted to focus on what we are good at, which is bring good UX, UI, focusing on the financial product we wanted to build. And less about rebuilding something that already exists. I think, to get to the level of security and decentralization that Ethereum has, it will take a long time. A lot of decision has to be made. They started as proof of work, then moved to proof of stake. You have multiple foundations working on it. And so I think for us, that was really the interesting part, that we could benefit from the security and the decentralization that Ethereum has. Also get access to the liquidity of the EVM kind of ecosystem. And then the choice on the what L2 to use was really about the technology. I think with Arbitrum, we're very excited to be able to use some of what they've published in the past, like Stylus, for example, that allows you to code in any language. We also get extremely fast block time. We were, really focusing on that because a lot of our products that we are building are financial products. So speed is very important. We wanted to have low gas fees because when you see excitement, we don't want the customer necessarily to charge more. And so, if you look at last week, for example, there was a lot of build-up on the chain, and we made sure that the gas fee will stay low. So having this L2 gives us a lot of choice on the decision that we can make and a lot of kind of autonomy of what we want to build, but we're also benefiting from all the work that Arbitrum and the Ethereum projects are doing. I think on the rent, it's kind of how it was set, like Ethereum by default was set like that. I don't know if it's necessarily unfair or fair. I think, at the end of the day, where I see it is that we are at the beginning. We only launched 3 weeks ago. So if you think about the fact that we can bring tens of millions of customers into the chain, bring more utility, bring more projects that people actually use, not just volatility, I think you're actually thinking about a very long-term source of revenue for both projects. And I think that's how you change kind of being a side project to being like one of these major projects that will be here for a long time.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that is always subject to change as well, right? You're in the earliest days of, we're only 10 years into Ethereum, 5 years into rollups and L2s. Ethereum's main MO is to grow.
Right.
Is to grow the L2s, is to grow the users, is to just grow, because at the end of the day, what the ETH thesis has kind of boiled down to is an economy of scale thesis, right? Keep the fees as low as possible on L2s, economies of scale there. Same thing with the L1, try to optimize the L1 for maximum throughput, privacy, et cetera. And then, when you have billions and trillions of dollars operating every day, transactions happening at scale across L2s and on the L1, there's enough of a fee generation there to theoretically turn it into a deflationary asset, or at least kind of maintain, a steady state. Just curious, what you think about the latest developments from Ethereum, ETH Labs, institutional Ethereum. There was kind of this reckoning of the organizational structure that started 1.5 years ago. People were up in flames about Vitalik tweeting about anime while the price is down another 10% and no one's doing anything. Feels like this kind of turnaround has been successfully executed from an organizational perspective, from a focus perspective, getting a lot of the DAC companies, Tom Lee, Joe Lubin, Joseph Shalom, really get more involved and use their capital to fund different initiatives. How do you feel about ETH's position relative to 1-2 years ago?
Well, I think it's such a wide project, and it's also such a big ambition, right? When you think about what ETH wants to achieve in terms of goal, they want to be the blockchain that runs most of the infrastructure of tomorrow. And so you will always see some divergence of opinion, and I think that makes sense. I think seeing some of these labs splitting and creating new structure is actually also exciting. A lot of innovation comes from competition, comes from group of people focusing on different problems and spending time on that. So overall, that wasn't really something that we were worried about when we were discussing which chain to use or which L1 to use. And I think overall it's a good thing for the network. We are talking to all these groups. They want to help Robinhood succeed. They also want Robinhood to succeed because it will benefit from the underlying assets. And so I think for us, our main focus has been making sure that what we've been building is easy to use for developers, especially on this ecosystem. When we see issues and when we see that something is not the most optimized, for example, when we build our stock token product, we made some suggestion to kind of update the underlying protocol to make sure that we could support all the corporate action that we have. And having this relationship with the labs was very important. So overall, I think for us, what we want to make sure that we are thinking 10, 20 years from now, Like I said, we are 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what we've built today is going to change in the future, and we need the Ethereum Foundation and labs for that to make sure that it's successful.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that this tokenization kind of happening is also only in its infancy in terms of
Absolutely.
Stablecoins have been around for 7-8 years ish. Tokenization's in like year 2 or 3 in terms of like actually happening, but it's been talked about and iterated on since 2017. You guys notably had the stock token offering that you've mentioned here a couple times. One of the cool things that we've been kind of opining on is that as this tokenization kind of thesis continues to grow, assets come on chain, there's like select primitives and winners and DeFi protocols that have positioned for this, dexes, perp dexes, lending markets, vaults, et cetera. And so, through the growth of Robinhood Chain kind of, pushing tokenization forward, I'm curious from your perspective how you see this from a, business logic perspective from Robinhood, and also as an investor. If this thesis is correct, we're going to get, tens of trillions of dollars moving on chain in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Who benefits the most? Who are the winners here? Who do you think about as leading this kind of charge from that perspective? How do you think about like making business choices and maybe investing personal capital as like a way to think about the second and third order effects of trillions of dollars coming on chain?
Yeah, I think there's a combination of things here. I think the customer is going to benefit a ton.
Yeah.
If you think about your current position right now, it's hard for you to access international exchanges. It's almost impossible for most people to access private equity. If you have real estate, it's also very difficult to buy, sell, to trade. Arts, I don't even want to start on this. I don't even know how you get a painting. So all of this with tokenization will be simpler. On top of that, you're going to have a lot more flexibility and competition. Right now, if you have a brokerage account and you want to transfer to another brokerage account, it takes at least 3, 4, 5 days, sometimes even more. On chain, you can do everything in a few seconds and move your stock tokens from one wallet to another or for a different platform. Same thing with collateral. If you want to use your portfolio to get a loan, good luck if you don't have $10 million or plus. And even if you do, it takes a lot of time. You have a lot of people that are opinionating, taking a slice of the fees and the cut. So I think the customer will actually benefit a ton there. I think the people that are building on it and are starting to think about it, we're also just getting in a place where you almost be at a disadvantage not using the tokenized version of it. So right now, using stablecoin versus wire, you can't send a wire on the weekend. You have so many limitations. You use stablecoin, you can actually do that immediately. And so I think that's where you're going to start seeing institutions and companies and people just starting to move to tokenization, because it's just going to be either you do that or you're just being left behind, basically.
Yeah, agreed. And speaking of that, there's been some a little bit of a fabricated battle between Base and Robinhood Chain over the last couple of days on the timeline. Base notably pivoted away from social. I think you guys have potential plans for more Robinhood social type of social community trading, and obviously Coinbase having their tokenized asset push with Circle as well, bringing that into Base. I'm just curious what you think of this competition rhetoric around Base and Robinhood, and how you anticipate these kind of ecosystems growing in parallel.
Yeah, I think competition is good for the customer. At the end of the day, when we launched crypto trading on Robinhood, we cut the fees compared to Coinbase quite a bit, and so at the end, the customer is benefiting from it. I think on Base or on the Robinhood chain, we are such in an early stage here that I think the debate is a bit too early at this point. We are 3 weeks in. There are a couple of years in, I think, if I remember correctly. And if you look at the results so far, is that very, very, very small fraction of the population is holding tokenized asset. And I think, what I want to focus on is making sure that the entire globe can actually own assets, and that we will have more assets hold in a tokenized format than in the current format that we have today. So I think, my focus is more on growing the pie versus getting market share. Ton of respect for what they did. I think the social experiment that they try is interesting. And I think it's normal to try new things, and maybe sometimes they fail, maybe sometimes they will actually succeed. But at the end of the day, we are at the beginning of blockchain, and so a lot of this new development and new ideas, it's still experimental and will take some iteration to get through. But on our side, we're mostly focusing on creating financial products. So our first earning product, perps, spot trading, these kind of things. That's what we are really good at, and that's where we think we can bring value to the customer. So that's why we've been focusing, and we don't really spend too much time on the Twitter battle on this one.
Yeah. But you guys have kind of established these relationships with these DeFi protocols that you guys announced at the World is Flat event. Several, Morpho on the vaults and lending side, Lighter on the perp side, LeFi on the aggregation and cross-chain API side, Chainlink Layer 0. When it comes to looking at primitives for building what you guys are trying to do in the space, aside from kind of the commercial side of things, what are the key kind of operational, technical, founder, like what are the considerations that Robinhood makes when it comes to selecting the infrastructure, the partners, and understanding what is going to be best for your needs?
Yeah, so Robinhood is a public company. We are licensed across the world in different shape or form. And so for us, it's very important that whoever we work with, they understand that aspect, and they work with us to make sure that whatever product we build is compliant with the rules that we expect. The second thing is we want to create experiences that are unique to our customers. So when we launched our lending protocol with Morpho, what was very important for us was to get this stable rate and also a very easy to use UX and UI. We also wanted to create an insurance program around it. And so for that, it requires like deep discussion and deep partnership. It's not just we can plug with the API that is available online. And so a lot of this discussion that we have with all these partners was really to try to find a way to get to a spot where we can build a product that our customers are excited about.
Yeah.
And that is kind of unique from the competition at the same time.
Yeah, love it. We got Maggie wants to know if you have a Cash Cat NFT.
I don't think I do yet. I've heard that there are some being built, but not for me at this point.
So thinking about like this broader transition from like, you could call Robinhood a fintech company into on-chain. We just had Paul from Morpho on half hour ago, and he's like, a lot of these fintechs that I'm speaking about, it is just this secular trend of moving a majority of the operational happenings on-chain, whether it be the bookkeeping, whether it be the assets, whether it be the trading experience. How do you think about, now that you've kind of opened Pandora's box 3 weeks ago, how do you think about the strategy and the kind of transition from all of the happenings that Robinhood has off-chain kind of going on-chain? What does that actually look like? Is because you can't, obviously it's not going to be everything, but what does that transition look like from a product perspective? Is there certain things that you guys will have start to slowly move on chain and kind of pilot programs, see how it goes, and then go? What are those avenues? Just kind of,
I think we're in this transition period where we are going to find how do we bring a better product to the customers, and if it's through the on-chain technology, then we'll bring it. So that's what we've done with Earn. We felt like that was a better way to do it than going the traditional route. Also for us, the international expansion has been a big focus. We want Robinhood to be available in the world. And going and getting licenses in every single country will take a long time, but actually using our wallet is allowing our customer to still have access to this UI and UX that we've built, but also get access to new ways of trading and getting exposure to assets. Overall, I will say I don't think we are, at the spot where next year the entire Robinhood trading activity is happening on chain. I think that's a bit of a dream. But I think if we can find ways to bring stuff that we haven't done yet, for example, international equities or 24/7 trading that is still not available on Robinhood, we only do 24/5. Or if we can offer, better solution like we've done with the Earn product, we will do that. And I think the chain is going to be the solution for a lot of these products that we still don't have. And that's why we wanted to really create this backbone that we can use for all these new products now.
Yeah, love it. And then from the business perspective, as far as revenue and kind of like business lines, obviously, you guys make a ton of revenue from options trading, from trading on the platform, from the earn features, other kind of business lines. When it comes to Robinhood Chain specifically and kind of the on-chain business lines, you guys have this now, like this kind of business line of this transaction activity that happens on the chain, which likely insignificant, or certainly insignificant to the broader pie of Robinhood. But what are the business lines that you see as potentially forming from this kind of new extension? And how do those kind of relate to this broader customer first, product first, efficiency thesis? How do those kind of go together? Sometimes they can be contradictory, but sometimes that can be kind of like a match made in heaven. How does expanding the business for using, Robinhood Chain, how does that tie into this kind of thesis?
Yeah, it's a balance act. I think, so for example, the gas fees, right? There are times where we could increase them because there's a lot of volume, a lot of activity, but we are actually deciding to not do that. And in the case of a couple of weeks ago, we actually decided to decrease them to make sure that we could make sure that we can have as much volume as possible. We are very much at the beginning, so we want adoption, we want product market fit, but also we are worried about spam and bots, activities and everything, so we can't make it completely free as well. So it's a balancing act. Also internally, we want to make sure that we can show that the chain and the DeFi program is also something that is beneficial for the group and not just a loss. So we are looking at all these aspects, but I think right now we are mostly into the optimization for adoption versus optimization for pure revenue from the chain side.
Yeah. And then just kind of thinking about Robinhood and kind of the stock hood and the growth that you guys have seen. It's been one of the better performing fintech assets or kind of tech assets. When you think about broader here, so just outside of crypto. How has the Robinhood thesis changed from the investor perspective? Obviously not financial advice here, but thinking about the ownership of Hood as an equity stake in Robinhood. Robinhood itself has expanded a lot and changed in the last couple of years. I think that there's this very super app vision that is kind of forming that Vlad talks about. How has the Robinhood thesis changed as AI has become far more prevalent, as crypto and tokenization has become far more prevalent? What is the updated view of what ownership of Hood really is kind of a bullish expression of?
Well, I think the super app vision is actually there. On Robinhood you can buy stocks, options, futures, prediction markets, crypto. You now have also a credit card. You also have a banking.
Yeah, the platinum card today.
The platinum card today, which I think is really, really cool. We also offer agentic trading. We have MCP available for you to use. So I think that's really that vision that we wanted to have one application to answer all your financial needs, also at a different stage of your life. I think that's something that is very important because the youth is not necessarily getting education around finance when they go to school, when they go to high school, but they actually need to start thinking about retirement as soon as they get out of high school, which is a kind of this like crazy world where you have to think about when you're going to be 60, when you're still trying to understand what you're going to do after high school. So Robinhood is really trying to push there on the education aspect, you can open your IRA on Robinhood, for example. And it's really about helping you think about your journey for finance, not just trading and getting some return on some assets. And so I think that's what we've been doing for the longest time now, and that's what we've been very good at. And we're seeing this very good diversification between all the businesses that are making at least 9 figures or more. And I think that really shows that Robinhood has been able to grow into a diversified company and not just a pure trading company.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Johann Kerbrat, the head of crypto at Robinhood. Thanks for joining us
thank you.
today. Congrats on the successful launch. It's been an amazing run, fun to watch. Guys, we'll be right back with our next guest, Beef.hl. He's got some awesome hyperliquid stats and charts for us. Then we're gonna go through the markets, charts, and more to end the show today. Be right back. Stay with us. See you in a second.
If you're serious about crypto, this is where you need to be. The Rollup will be broadcasting live from the Rare Evo Expo floor on day 1. It's July 29th and 30th at the Aria Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. General admission is free, so don't miss out. Hear from U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno, Stephen Gregory from Binance US, Brian Quintens from Kalshi, and Maggie Parsons from Lighter. Connect with industry leaders from Bitwise, Wintermute, Privy, and dozens more. Claim your free ticket today at rareevo.io. We'll see you in Las Vegas.
We get deep. We get deep. We get deep. Hot. You know we get deep. We get deep, you know we get deep. We get deep, we get deep, you know we get deep.
Money, power, and money, power, and
probably whipping up some guinea pig for lunch. Wow, Robbie's gonna whip up some guinea pig for lunch. Apparently, that's what Freedom Guy says. Johann's bullish, Robinhood Chain's bullish. That was just a bullish interview.
Not guinea pig for lunch today.
No?
So tell us, takeaways. What do you think?
I don't know. Just floor it. Just all in. Just Robinhood Chain.
Is Hood a buy?
Hood is just the super app for the future of finance. I don't own any right now. I don't know if it's a buy. Maybe it's a buy. Maybe it's not. I'm expressing my future of finance bet on Hyperliquid rather than Hood, but I love it. I think it's going to do great. And I mean, what do you think, man? I mean, are we flooring it or are we flooring it? Multicoin's not selling their hype, guys. Boys are up.
Very, very fascinating times in the market right now. I'm just continuously bullish. There's just signs that are just telling me we're exactly where we're supposed to be right now.
Telling you that this rally will fail like the other vibes?
In fact, I think this rally won't fail like the other.
Really? Okay.
All I see out there is that this rally is going to top out. Majors are at local highs. Indices are stalling. We're going to roll over. Maybe we get into the 70s, and then there's one leg lower, and then
one leg lower, guys.
In October.
One leg lower. Robbie's going to get liquidated if we go lower.
Sounds like a lot of disbelief to me. Just sounds like a lot of disbelief. I choose to be bullish.
Yeah.
I actually think ETH is going to reclaim 2000 and be one of the more bullish coins of the cycle.
I can see it. Bankerbot plus Robinhood, bullish. Does he have a Cash Cat NFT? I don't think he did. I didn't ask about if he's going to use ETH for staking or anything. I wasn't really sure the vibe there, to be honest. But great vibes, though, I would say, for Robinhood Chain. What a start. I mean, they are just absolutely cooking, doing big numbers. And, yeah, I mean, it's just been a good freaking run for them. So I'm glad to see it. Guys, if you were on yesterday's show, we had a little bit of tech hiccup there at the end, so we didn't get the W's in the chat. It was more like the L's in the chat. But, you know, we persevere. Things are looking good out there. So, yeah. Rob, what did I miss while I was on the air? What happened out there? Looks like not a whole lot.
A lot of deep AI thinking, tinkering. There's a lot of tinkering.
Yeah.
A lot of tinkering. Not a whole lot. Gotta reclaim some levels on near. That one is.
That one's killing you.
Back a little.
That one's killing you a little bit.
Well, you know, we take a long time horizon. It's DeFi that's really heating up. It feels like the Ethereum ecosystem is just charging.
Yeah. What about?
Again, so it's cool to see.
You know what's cool is one of our long-term bags, ETHFi, has really done a lot of work on reclaiming some important levels.
Okay.
A lot of work. I mean, we bottomed at
Good Idea Ventures company there.
We bottomed at 26 cents, back up to 46 cents. Yeah. Really just needs to hold this 46-cent level. Major level from all the way back in 2025 April. So we reclaimed a previous resistance from an April level of 2025, where from there we moved all the way up to like $2. So hoping to see. The 1010 wick on Binance on EtherFi is the most gnarly thing I've ever seen in my life. The day started at $1.58. The 1010 wick went all the way down to 8 cents.
Oh my gosh.
I've never seen anything like that in my life. That is disgusting.
That's incredible.
Incredible.
I mean, we're looking pretty good across the board since about July 1st. And so I would be curious. I'm looking at like monthly candles right now.
Okay.
I'm like, what is like monthly time frames looking like? So that
probably
we can
bulled up.
What's that?
Probably bulled up, dude.
I mean, it just feels like something flipped around July 1st. Looking at Bitcoin, looking at ETH, looking at EtherFi. That is when I feel like there was just some structural changes.
Okay.
So that's what I'm keeping my eyes on. Long time horizons, structural accumulation zones, building positions.
There you go.
And just, you know, making plays for the long haul, not trying to, you know, go pico tops, pico bottoms. And,
just hanging out. Well, we got a friend of mine, Beef HL. He's got some, he's got the grill report Hyperliquid grilled every week. Heat check. He's got the heat check for us, guys. So if you're holding hype, this is going to be a fun one because he's going to get into the data. I got a feeling he's going to come on here with a lot of energy, but I could be wrong. Could be wrong. And he's going to share his screen, and he's going to just give us the heat report. So the current heat report is Multicoin is not selling and the boys are up. But I got a feeling he's going to get more into the details, a bit more into the market stats, stuff you guys want to hear about. So that's going to be a fun one. W's in the chat. Freedom guy. My guy is back. He is so back from the dead. Thought we lost him for a second. Truly thought we lost him. Wasn't ready for what that would have entailed for us, Rob.
Yes, we don't want to lose any of our precious dubs or audience members here. We love you guys. And so we're going to get another lovely guest up, Beef. I believe he is behind the scenes. I believe he is ready to come on the show.
Yeah.
And so we are excited to have him. There he is.
Beef.
It's Beef.
What's going on, man?
What's up? Super excited to be chatting with you boys. How you guys doing today?
Hey, we're living life large, man. We're living large.
Dude, I tell you.
How are you?
What a roller coaster, man. The past few days have been, if you've been in the Hyperliquid ecosystem. You know, you got all these alerts flashing, people speculating, and then today to see Multicoin come out and say, like you said, Andy, you know, that they're not planning on selling.
We're not fucking selling.
Huge sigh of relief for some people who are freaking out there, maybe a little too leveraged.
Levered to the tits, my guy. We don't want to do that one. Don't want to do that one.
Guys. Yeah,
so
I'm excited.
Well, you got this grill report for us, man.
Yeah.
It's a new segment on the Rollup. We're gonna test it out today, see how it goes, and get this thing started. So what do you got for us, Beef HR?
Yeah.
And first of all, quick introduction for our audience and
tell us a little bit about yourself.
What you're doing in the Hyperliquid ecosystem,
and how you like your steak.
Dude, that's how I end all my interviews. I ask my guests how they like their steak.
Yeah.
But no, I've been in the hype eco since like December 2024. I've been making content exclusively for Hyperliquid since March 25. Started out with just covering the news, and then it kind of morphed into an in-depth interview kind of structure with key builders in the space. Just trying to give them the spotlight because, you know, like Hyper EVM, certain sides of Hyperliquid don't get enough credit, in my opinion, and there's tons of stuff happening there. So, then I flash forward to this past summer, formed HL Media. We are now taking this a lot more seriously. We're a team of 3 who do spaces, our interview structure, Hypermeet, and then, you know, provide support to the different builders to let them accomplish their goals. So it's just really excited to get more serious about it. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And I love the ecosystem. You know, like there is a lot of culture on Hyperliquid that a lot of people don't see. They just see that the trading exchange. So there's a lot more to it. And feel free to check out some of our content if you want to dive into it deeper.
All right, well, let's get the grill report up here, Leo.
Hell yeah, dude.
Fresh. And fresh off the grill.
All right.
Alrighty.
So over the past 7 days, there's been about 9.1 million hype bought back in dollars. So about 140,000 hype burned. And that's 90, you know, some people say 97% of all the fees go to it, or 99. I don't know if I've ever actually found it. It might have just been a trust me bro for the 99% in any docs. Not sure there. But this is a good sign, guys. Remember, this is permanently removing that from the supply forever. So super pumped about that.
Actually, Leo, just go full screen on the screen share real quick. Full screen. Let's get it up. 1 sec.
We're good? All right, cool. So I don't know where it cut off, but 140,000 hype burned. Remember, that's permanently removed from the supply, with circulating supply being, so low. This is a great thing. So excited to see that. HIP3 is killing it lately. Over the past week, there was a few times where HIP3 volume was higher than crypto trading perp volume. So this is super exciting to see. Huge fan of what Trade XYZ is doing. They're really crushing it. There's a whole, are they going to launch a token? Like people are excited about that, speculating about that. That's super exciting stuff. Really proud to see them and everything that they're bringing to market. So, so HIP4, super exciting news with HIP4. I don't know if you guys covered it already today or yesterday, but talking about how it's now on testnet, the permissionless markets, and you're going to be allowed to do 100 of these markets if you have staked 500,000 hype. So it's on testnet. It's going to be rolling out soon. I know that people are very excited about this. Lots of builders waiting on this. So this was a very welcomed update. I'm going to be exclusively doing this as opposed to some other places that shall remain unnamed. And then I got to, tip the hat to culture here. I don't know if you guys. Yeah, I mean, this is the official Hyperliquid NFT, was given to OG airdrop recipients. Tracking the floor here. There's tons of speculation, tons of culture with these things. I think there's like 15 in the collection that were actually handcrafted by Jeff himself. And you can search those by the trait that says by Jeff. So if you want to go and check those out, super exciting. I just got one. This PFPUC, this is my custom tweak on it. They don't have a stake trait. So, I had to add it though with my name and, my swag. Thank you. Yeah, partnered
Beef,
with
Rip.xyz. Did you know that the actual price of beef is going down right now, so you can enjoy cheaper steaks?
Ooh, yeah, no, but my Wagyu that I ship on dry ice from Japan is probably still going to be pretty expensive.
Oh, wow, that is giving me ideas, Beef.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, it's so good.
Incredible.
Yeah. So that's pretty much short and sweet. Just wanted to try this out with you guys. Make sure to check our latest interview. It's with Jords. He's kind of a well-known, I think you guys had him on your show too.
Yes.
Well-known, prominent Solana voice who's kind of discovered Hyperliquid. I shouldn't say discovered. He's been on Hyperliquid. It was a great conversation, really deep thinker. But yeah, check out everything HL Media's got cooking. And I'm a huge fan of you guys and everything you do. And I love when you cover Hyperliquid stuff. I geek out when I'm watching it and comment in the chat. You guys have seen me and made fun of my name before, like Hyper Meat. Like what the hell? I appreciate the opportunity, guys.
So tell us, Hyper Meat, are you well done kind of guy, medium rare? What are we working with?
Oh, dude, it's got to be medium rare.
Of course.
It depends on the cut. Like I like the ribeye the best. You don't really need a sauce with that, but maybe with a tenderloin, you can have a nice, béarnaise or a cognac sauce to go with it.
There you go.
Yeah, man. I get fancy with it sometimes.
Beef, do you think that the multi-coin announcement today materially changes the short-term outlook for Hyperliquid, or does it not really matter?
I think in the end, people are going to do what they want to do, obviously. But I think it's a sigh of relief for some people, like I said, who maybe have been too leveraged. So it's good to see them clarify that. And, they were expressing this is why we need like privacy. People are watching and moving markets, freaking out and stuff. I think this is a good thing, though, because to me, like looking at the hype chart overall, we're kind of consolidating around this zone. And, barring any negative, news from the Clarity Act or, an increase in volatility from the war, I think this will be a good launch pad into the next phase of Hyperliquid. And, with the Singapore event coming up, who knows what the team's going to try and roll out and get people hyped about before then.
Well, I'm going to do some breaking news for you, Beef, while you're here on the show. We've got a video from Brian Armstrong. Let's go ahead and pull it full screen here because our lovely bald friend is there in DC and he is cooking. And we've got some updates that was posted 9 minutes ago. Breaking news. Let's hit it and let's see what Brian has to say. Let's go, Leo. The Clarity Act is ready for full Senate floor vote. The bill represents a true bipartisan compromise with thousands of hours of work on both sides. Couldn't come at a better time. Status quo in the US isn't working. Crypto can't be uninvented at this point. You should wait. You should want clear federal laws, and it's simply good politics. 70% of American voters say they should have already passed legislation. Let's finish this. Special thanks to Stand With Crypto, who sent 950,000 contacts to the representatives in Congress. Keep it up. Let's hear what Brian has to say. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Hey y'all, Brian Armstrong here. I'm back in the Capitol working to get the Clarity Act passed. Now, this bill is at the 1 yard line, and it reflects a ton of work from both sides of the aisle to get to a true compromise. You have to remember that the status quo is not serving anyone in the U.S. right now. There's no federal laws. We've seen bad actors like FTX harm customers. This bill is an opportunity to cement the consumer protections and get America back on the forefront so it can lead in this industry. It also gives a lot of powers to law enforcement to root out bad actors. So thank you to all the Stand With Crypto members who've contacted their representatives. I think over 800,000 contacts have gone out now. And we, with fingers crossed, I think in the next few weeks, we have a good chance of getting this bill to the full Senate floor. Talk soon. Hey, y'all.
Bang.
Big claims from the bald man. We've got about 2 weeks for this to go, for this thing to go live. Beef, who do you think are the biggest winners if the Clarity Act does go through?
Well, see, that's the thing. So immediately, you're going to hear chatter about maybe some of the American-based companies, getting a lot of the spotlight. But I think overall there's going to be lots of winners here. We have the Hyperliquid Policy Center. Of course I'm going to talk Hyperliquid here. And we've got Jake Travinsky, who is a warrior going to bat for us. And, it's exciting to see these things materialize. You see like the notes coming out about how Trade XYZ, Iliasync, and others are meeting with members of, representatives and stuff. So I think it'll be good for our industry as a whole. And then in time, it'll be great for companies like, or for blockchains like Hyperliquid.
Where can we trade the Hyper NFTs?
Yeah. So right now, OpenSea has one. There is going to be some others that are getting cooked up now. But OpenSea will have, like any NFT, that they have it. So, yeah, make sure you guys grab one. And if you don't have exposure, there is like a tokenized vault system called rip.xyz. Like if you only have like $500. What? Oh, you're talking about the old NFT marketplace?
Drip trade.
Yeah. But yeah, so you could still get access to hypers if you can't afford them via the tokenized vaults, rip.xyz. So check that out if you can't afford a hyper but still want some of that exposure. Because who knows, man? We could have a whole conversation about Season 3 and, all the speculation that comes with that and excitement.
You think there's another hype airdrop on the horizon?
I've had quite a few guests come on the show, and one of my guests had suggested that technically they might not meet the level of distribution for the token to be considered fully decentralized according to some of the guidelines from the SEC. So I think that they're going to be distributing some coins or burning some coins, removing them from the supply forever. Either way, if you're a hype holder, I think, and you're active in the eco, I think it'll be a good thing. The more people, the better.
Beef, we had a couple people come on, and there were some news headlines that came out, kind of one pretty recently and then another one that was almost like a year ago at this point, talking about how right now there's a large chunk of the supply that's allocated towards the ecosystem, community grants, this sorts of thing. And in the traditional financial world, these shares are, they just get generated when it comes time to do something with them. And you could almost burn like a large portion of the supply. The guy that originally put this out was John Charb from DBA. And then more recently, there was someone else that was talking about this as well. Is there any chatter about this in the discourse or the forums that you're a part of? Do you hear any sort of like, you know, more so than just the typical buyback and burn mechanism that is sink for a lot of the revenue? Do you see any sort of, you know, discourse around, you know, a large significant chunk of the supply getting deleted from the circulating?
So nothing official. The team is super tight-lipped about all that stuff. And you can see it in the chart, like before they announce things, like nothing moves, which is, you know, super respectable compared to other places. But no, it's just more theories, you know, because nobody knows for sure. But you're right. There is a portion that's earmarked for community incentives, rewards. And they actually added to it when there was a portion of unclaimed hype at the OG airdrop. So I think it brings it to like 42, 41%, something like that. So nobody knows what's going to happen here. But, you know, if you look at the big picture, and this is just my opinion, I'm not trying to be a hype boy or like get you too excited about it, but they've always like rewarded people who are active in doing things. And I think there's probably something like a checklist of different actions, different features you could have done playing around on Hyperliquid. Doing things in Hyper EVM, getting yourself a .hl, you know, holding a Hyper. Maybe that'll make you eligible if they decide to bless everybody. And with such a huge USD value that we're talking about here in this slice of the pie, you know, they don't even have to do it all at once. They could, and that could be the thing. It could be like a reoccurring flywheel where they do like 5-10%. And then it's like, oh my gosh, they still have all the rest of it. What are they going to do? People wait another 2 years, 5-10%. You know what I mean? Like, they could really make this an ongoing thing, ongoing incentives. And you know, it's a great card to have when you're going up against like the CME or any of these other big competitors that are going to want to come after Hyperliquid once everything's like clarified. They just activate an incentive season, man. You're going to see this thing go bananas.
Edwards' steak of choice is a ribeye cap from Costco, reverse sear, Little Miss Gun, like some mid-rare, but she's a little filet girl. And bros are cooking. When trade XYZ airdrop?
What do you think, Beef?
It's a big XYZ. One. I mean, you know, I've heard arguments from both sides. Is that net, you know, like, is that going to hurt hype? Because, like, how does that token dynamic work? I don't know. I know that I believe in the teams involved, Trade XYZ and Hyperliquid, and you know, whatever they decide to do, I feel like it'll really work out because it'll be super thought out. Yeah, super thought out.
All right, buddy. Much love. Let's get you on next week. Get a quick update from you again. Great to have you, and love the slides. Maybe you got to bring like a couple more slides next time. Get us fired up. Get some graphs in there. Get some charts in there. Let us bring a slide that we'll have a debate about, all right?
Let's do it, man.
You're the man. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Take care, Beef. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Alrighty, guys. That is our Beef HL Hyperliquid segment. We got more breaking news for you. Let's hit the segment. I got more for you here coming up. Let's get some sounds firing for our boy. Breaking news. Todd Phillips tweeting about Clarity. Here we go. It is not just the ethics provisions that sunset on January 20th. It's that they cannot be enforced after that. Let's get Robbie and I up on the screen here, Leo. Literally, the next presidential administration could not enforce this prohibition for activities that occurred before then. This quote-unquote compromise is a joke. As you guys see here in the text, you've got the amendments in the treatment of the pre-sunset conduct. Blah, 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 blah. No person shall be subject to any penalty for forfeiture or liability under Section 30101 or any amendment for conduct that occurs on or before that sunset date. Effectively making Trump and all of what he's done with the lovely, lovely meme coin not subject to any penalties. Rob, what's your take here?
This is the old regulatory moat make your way up the ladder and then pull the ladder up from behind you, make
Yeah.
all the money, and then change the laws so that no one else can make money from doing the same thing. Whatever gets the Clarity Act through, right? I mean, look, Trump has made his money. I mean, the guy made $1 billion. I think if you're a Dem and you're looking at this and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, it sucks. He made $1 billion, $1 billion." I don't know if there's any legal recourse for like taking that money away from the guy. Isn't it best if we just say, like, put a stop to it now? We prevent anyone else from doing this in the future. Look, guy found a loophole. He did it. Code is law.
Apparently.
Code is law. The guy made a bunch of money. I think I am a fan of prohibiting Congress people in charge of making laws from profiting from the stocks and crypto that they are a part of.
Why is there even a sunset? Remove that and pass this. Well, obviously because the Republicans do not want the Dems coming at Trump and, charging him for fraud and pump and dump and manipulation and securities fraud and putting him in jail for the rest of his 3 years that he has to live. They'll approve that, LOL. They can gripe all they want, but everyone knows that's the best you're going to get. Well, we'll see if the Dems are cool with that, Jingo. I don't know if the Dems are just going to be ready to sign off and be like, yep, looks great. Trump's going to be absolved from any potential crime. Our boy Salman, who we had on the show, who I know that you guys likely watch. If you haven't, that is still on our channel. Here's what Salman thinks very bearish for the future of Clarity, he says.
Yep.
Very bearish, he says.
It's not just that the ethics provision sunset at noon. It's that they cannot be enforced after that. I mean, so what are the Republicans doing here? I mean, whose idea was this to sunset? It feels like... But why? I mean, January 20th, 2029, man, they're saying that after they're president, they can get involved in crypto activities? Or are they saying that presidents that are elected and in office after the 20th are able to? It's just too confusing. I don't know. I mean, Paul came in, he said he was bearish. Salman put it at a coin flip.
Yeah.
I know there's things happening. The White House is urging this to go through.
Yep.
I mean, I was sort of the opinion that if they really made a ton of concessions, that this would get to President Trump's desk. Like, if they were asking him to repay all the money that he made off crypto, he was not going to sign the Clarity Bill.
Is Circle the only office in New York City with a better view of the tokenization tower? Bullish Circle. Oh, God, what's happening today in this thing? Yeah, I jinxed it real good there. Is this a buy? 240 to now what 65. I was talking to them yesterday at the office and they're like, look, the only thing that correlates to the price of Circle is just a Bitcoin chart. You ought to think Circle is a big winner if Clarity goes through. No? Or am I just smoking that Kool-Aid pack?
Well, let's just walk through the mechanics of it. If Clarity goes through, then it is more difficult for stablecoin issuers to pay yields, right? Because they start to resemble banks. That's the whole yield issue as part of Clarity. And so if they can't pass along the yields, then they're going to have difficulties with their integrations with, the Coinbases of the world and whatnot, their revenue share agreements.
So you're saying not necessarily a bullish catalyst, but if LeBron James goes to the Miami Heat, that could be bullish for Circle.
What are the odds on that?
Will Netanyahu visit New York City? Oh my gosh. Did you guys see this video? Oh my gosh.
Let's play this video.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even watch it. And I'm not even going to be able to give my opinion on this, but oh my gosh.
Let's put this up on the thing. Wait, yeah, there we go. Let's get some audio on this. Can we get some audio on this, please?
I got it. Do you not have it?
No, I don't. Your other video is doing well with it. What do we got here?
Maybe it's being restricted.
We got to talk to the developers of There's meeting software. And
Yeah, I mean, it's like it
figure
works.
out what sort of censorship we have going on with.
Wait, Leo, do you not have audio here? Not coming in. The hell does that mean? All right, well, we don't need to listen to this anyway. You guys can watch this on your own before the chat starts to get crazy. I'm surprised he has.
Hold on, just try to screen share one more time. If you stop sharing, and then there's a little tab that lets you share audio with the.
Yeah, it's always
with
enabled.
sound.
It's always
Make
enabled.
sure that thing is clicked on.
Of thousands.
You got
there
it?
we go. Now we got it.
All right, here we go.
Benjamin Netanyahu is
Sometimes you got to reset it.
the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children, as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire. The list goes on and on, all as we, as Americans, pay for the bombs that do the killing. There is a reason the International Criminal Court...
Hold on. The background music is so unnecessary. So unnecessary.
Issued a warrant for his arrest.
This is a sad video.
As human beings, we have spent generations building a shared understanding that there are crimes so grave they offend all of humanity. Anyone with their eyes, with their heart, with their conscience should recognize the devastation he has wrought and understand that he belongs before a court of law. As I've said, I agree with the ICC that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested and tried for his crimes, as I do for anyone else charged by the ICC. My administration has reviewed every avenue available under applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant if Benjamin Netanyahu came here. It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant. The federal government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant. And I want to be equally clear. Benjamin Netanyahu is not welcome in New York City, nor is any other war criminal at large. While we cannot end the genocide on our own, we can decide whether our silence will become another weapon, and we can examine every tool we have to defend the humanity and dignity of all people. That is my commitment to you.
Somebody in chat says the only genocide the last 2 years is Change Street 10 a.m. Bitcoin dump. Oh my God. I'm actually surprised he's an American flag in the background. Should be the Somali flag. So this is, I do not have an opinion on this. I think it's tragic. That is my only take.
Yeah, I don't like people dying. It's sad. I mean, his main gripe here is that, or the main emotional appeal is that you, the people of New York City, are paying for the bombs that are killing these people, which to me sounds like the military-industrial complex and a greater national budget and a greater national debt and the fiat currency debasement thesis.
On another note, we're about to RSI bullish divergence our way to new all-time highs.
Platform for presidency that I think Mr. Mamdani is going to be attempting.
Oof.
What do we have here?
I would just like to say that Mamdani is extremely well versed at leveraging Twitter or X to communicate his messages. I would say that he's very Zoomer friendly, which is, I think, bullish.
Polymarket, who will be the next prime minister of Israel after the next election? Netanyahu, 39%. Some guy named Gadi Eisenkot, 50%.
It's earnings week, guys. Will Tesla beat earnings? That is the question.
Yeah, but more importantly, are you have you seen this Google thing?
No.
July 22nd, that's today. Google, Alphabet, is reporting its Q2 earnings after the market closes tonight. That is why people are expecting volatility around 4:05 p.m. coming up in about an hour.
Oh, really?
Google will announce earnings. what to expect, focus on revenue, analysts predict.
Whoa. Let's just mute Rob for a sec. And let's get back over to the screen here. Alphabet Inc. is down 3%, 0.3%. Looks pretty okay. Google's in a weird position today. Let's say they raise capex from 190 billion, the expected amount right now, to 200 to 220 billion. Be super bullish for all the semis, but would the market think that's bearish for hyperscalers? Would Meta, Amazon go down on the news because they'd be expected to raise? Google just diluted by 85 billion. So the assumption is they will either increase capex or at the very least keep it flat. I think we'll get a strong quarter, but many questions to be answered that Google will set the stage. Many questions to be answered that Google will set the stage for when it comes to big tech earnings. So definitely interesting. And we're just gonna go ahead and turn that off in the meet and look at what's happening here with this. And so, yeah, I mean, let's get into the markets, guys, briefly before we end the show today. You got hype here as well, looking pretty strong, bouncing trying to hold up. We'll see how these earnings affect the markets. Lighter looking very strong. Overall, looks like it could make another push here up. Zcash looking a bit weak. I drew these crazy crazy lines on Zcash today. Pretty bullish, if you ask me. I think this has a likelihood of playing out. I know it's definitely bull vibes, but I think you guys are probably in it with us. I got a 10x long on Google. Wish me luck. Nice. Freedom Guy cannot read that out loud. But super dope. And yeah, it's just interesting for sure what's happening here. So Arrow kind of holding up, but has some work to do. These charts are in log scale, by the way, guys. And then Pump had that nice move back above this level that we were tracking. If we take this out to normal scale, here it is. Regular scale, you see actually the move. So definitely broke that line. So it's probably worth a bid at that lower level, potentially. I don't know. We're just watching the majors. We're watching Hype. We're watching BTC. We're watching Link. We're watching Sol. Zek. So buy the rumor, sell the news on Bitcoin for clarity. I kind of agree, honestly. I could see that marking a weird local top. So I think we have the daily equity segment coming up as well. So let's get into that. Daily equity powered by our friends at Denari, and then we're going to close the show. Markets look all right. Let's get into it. Alrighty, guys, tokenized stocks are having their headline moment. A16Z published the growth charts this week. On-chain transfer volume was up more than 170x in a year. The sector's market cap crossed $2 billion this month for the first time. The interesting part is not the growth, it is who showed up. DTCC processes first live production trades of tokenized stocks. and treasuries as well. The NYSE parent company announced a tokenized stock partnership with OKX. Citadel Securities invested $400 million into Crypto.com. And the companies that already clear list and make markets for traditional equities are building or funding the on-chain versions themselves. This summer reads a lot more like Wall Street adopting the rails while keeping their customers. This moment is important. Very important. Very, very important. Serious players are moving. The land grab is happening. That the demand side will be solved. And tokenized equities are having their on-chain moment, specifically on Solana, specifically on Hyperliquid. As far as trading, Robinhood chain obviously dominating there. Uniswap with their stock tokens. And this is happening. This is firmly happening. We're completely bulled up on this trend, and we love it. And so tokenization is becoming something that is far bigger for Wall Street than what they previously had imagined. The quantity of tokenized stocks we expect to increase at a rapid pace this year into next. And we're firmly bullish on what comes as a result of Wall Street coming on chain. I believe that there's a chart at the bottom of this that we can go at real quick. Actually, there is not. Tokenization is no longer crypto. It is a broad story. And I think that is very valuable. I think that is the core nature of why this trend has been a secular growth trend in the middle of a crypto bear. This isn't a crypto trend. This is a secular growth opportunity, and we'll continue to see it. That's our daily equity show powered by our friends at Denari, the leading representative daily equity company with real one-to-one stock ownership backed by U.S. brokerage accounts in your name on chain. Trade SpaceX on Hyperliquid and a variety of other assets on chain powered by Denari. Visit denari.com to learn more. That's our daily equity. Let's close this show out. Let's get it on the road. Vibes are up. Everybody watching, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Throw the notifications on for the live. You know we're here. You know we're active. You know we're having a good time. Andy, why are you bullish on Zcash and Monero? And is ETH going to have privacy features? I'm bullish on Zcash because Zcash is better than Monero. Don't have an exact answer for you, but I do believe that.
Private Bitcoin, quantum resistant, flows, fully diluted,
Yep.
no IRS backdoor.
Bang. Bang. Guys, that's the show for today. No matter what we're in, bull or bear, we're setting positions for long-term, maximizing taxes and tax efficiency, harvesting losses, setting long-term positions in the lows, going higher. My quant told me that we're going to be absolutely flying on Zcash, and that is the one to hold long-term. Set your position, figure out how many units you want of Bitcoin, hype Zcash, and sign off for 2 years. That's the strategy. Some trading in between, some perps trading to scratch the itch. You know where we'll be, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Tokenization Tower, future of finance, financial capital of the world. Rob, anything on your end before you close us out?
Prediction markets have Google beating earnings. We'll see if the prediction markets got it right. I think
W's
that
in the
is
chat.
what the market is looking for.
W's in the chat.
W's in the chat. Sensational.
Big Duker. Hey, somebody
Big
give Leo
Duker
some
season.
dukes.
Guys,
All right,
give it
man.
up. Give it up for my lovely co-host, Mr. Duker.
Give it up for Leo.
Give me big Dukers in the
team.
chat, guys.
Comment
How
of the
many
day.
units of Duker is your dream?
I think the comment of the day was Edward in saying the biggest winners of Clarity, the biggest losers, Mamdani, Pocahontas, and XRP. That's the comment of the day.
I think the other Edward one, what did he say? Man,
Nah, we can't. That's not the right one for the comment of the day.
He had a couple
On
good
that
ones.
note, we're going to go ahead and wind this Johnny down.
Jane Street, 10 a.m. Bitcoin dump. Don't
Thank you.
ever want to see that again.
Thank you for everybody who was part of the show today. Give us a like on YouTube. W's in the chat. W's in the
Our designer is
chat.
going to start working on a comment of the day stinger transition. It'll be a award that we hand out every single day.
That's what we need.
Keep commenting.
Let's get it. See you tomorrow. Straight here to Tokenization Tower. Sayonara.